Y'all doing? I am running way behind, so I apologize to anybody that's been waiting on me. Terrible, 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 I know. I'll just give a couple of minutes for those that's been waiting to see that I'm actually here, and I'm already late, so I'm not going to wait too long. I will get started. Hello, person. I can't see who it is, but if you've been waiting, I do apologize. Got off work a little later than I wanted to, than I planned on at least, and it kind of threw me off. But I thank you for being here on this Monday. Hope you're having a great Monday. I'm going to wait just a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. Like I said, I'm a little late, and I don't know if somebody was waiting on me or not. And I do apologize from the bottom of my heart. Right. Over here. All right. I'm going to grab me some water, and then I come back, I get started. Take that 120 out. 120, you take that out. Right. Oh, again, I do apologize for anybody that was waiting. That's on me. I'm going to get started because I'm already running late, and I hate that because it just throws me in like a frenzy. I'm like, oh, I got to get there and get it. And I hate rushing, try to rush through the lesson and everything, but got to calm myself down a little bit so we can get into this. I think we got another good lesson here tonight that I want to go over with you guys tonight. And this is more of a warning kind of thing, as a minister. My job is to, not only teach you the word, but as well just give you one of the things to watch out for as you trying to, serve the God, as you're going through the word and trying to serve the Lord and try to do your part to follow his will for your life. So, this is a part 2 of a sermon that I did. I did part 1 last Monday, and this is going to be part 2 here. And it's a different story, but kind of dealing with the same person, but we're going to see another aspect of it tonight. And, of course, the lesson, if you saw my post on Facebook, if you saw the first one, the lesson tonight is called Blood Ain't Always Thicker Than Water. And the first part, like I said, this is part 2. So I'm going to kind of do a review of the intro is going to be about the same as I did in part 1. So if you watch part 1, then you know kind of where I'm going with that as far as the intro. But the story and the chapters that we're going to cover tonight are going to be different. So again, the title of it is Blood Ain't Always Thicker Than Water. And like I said, it's more of a warning sermon. Try to work, it's kind of got I don't want to say a negative spin on it, because we're talking about family here. And we always have this term of endurement. I know we use it a lot in the hood. We always say blood thicker than water kind of thing. And that's always a term that's saying like, hey, we blood, I got your back kind of thing. But a lot of times people use that against you. They try to use that, oh, well, blood's thicker than water, and they'll try to say that to get themselves out of something where they've screwed you over before in the past, or maybe even recent, and they try to, oh, well, blood thicker than water, you got to let that go. And they'll use it as an excuse to get away with some stuff that they did to you or some wrong that they've done. And and they use that blood is thicker than water as a term of endearment to say that, hey, Ashley, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. I'm glad you still hung around to wait on me. You know how I am. You of all people should know how I am. So, but I do apologize. I just got off work a little later than I wanted to, so I do apologize. But I was saying, they use that term a lot, blood sticking in water, when they've wronged you and they want you to kind of, let them slide with some they've done wrong with you. And we use that term to think that it means that, hey, we're family, we always got each other back. But in reality, if you go to the origin of that term, that's not what that means at all. And like I said, this is going to be the intro, kind of the same intro from the last part, the first part I did. So if you saw the first part, you know where I'm going. But like I said, that term actually that quote comes from this term here. It says the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And this actually means that blood shed in battle bonds soldiers more strongly than simple genetics. And although we commonly use it to suggest the strength of family ties, it doesn't refer to family at all. So once again, that's kind of where I'm going. And honestly, I'm going to tell y'all, I'm just like 95% of y'all. When I hear blood sticking in the water, I always think about family getting you back and things of that nature too. So, but when I did that research, I didn't know that that's what it actually means. That, basically what they're saying, there's people that's not blood related to you or genetically related to you that will be closer to you because of things that you've been through in life. Now, it's talking about soldiers in battles, but I mean, we're all soldiers. If you're a Christian, we're all soldiers of Christ. So we're all in battles. We battle every day. Every day we wake up, we have to battle the devil. We have to battle our flesh and this world and things that's trying to pull us away from God. So we all are soldiers in battle. And that's what this lesson is kind of showing, that just because people are family don't mean they're truly family. Just because they're blood related or genetically related to you don't necessarily mean they're truly family to you in heart. So tonight, as we look at this statement, blood is thicker than water, or blood is not thicker than water, I want you to understand, like I said, I'm going to look at it from the aspect of the way it's used by 95% of us, and we're talking about family ties. And we're going to see that just because you're family, it doesn't always mean your family. I'm going to show you from the Bible that that ain't always true. A majority of the time, family are the main ones that will screw you over the most. And like I said, man, I don't want this to be a negative thing, because it's gonna sound negative. It's gonna be some bad, but I know last week all of the points was pretty much bad, but this week there's actually a couple of good points in there as well, because family is important and it's essential. And that's one of the ways that the devil is winning over this country, because he's turned down the family unit. And back in the day, I would say blood was thicker than water and family ties did matter. But today, most of the time, it's every man for themselves, saying, well, we don't sacrifice ourselves and for our family like we used to, and like I said, this is not a sermon on distant family, nothing like that. I don't want you to go out there and just start disowning family members. But, you got to be aware, like I said, as a minister, it's my job. That like my ministry is called the Lost Sheep Ministry. So it's my job to protect the flock, protect the sheep, and kind of open your eyes and help you see anything that can pull you away from the flock. And sometimes, sadly enough, family can do that. And that's why we looked at the story last week, where we saw two brothers going against each other and kind of screwing each other over. And we're going to see a little bit more of that today, where family screwing each other over is kind of the theme of the story that we're going through. And like I said, I talked about last week about my family. I didn't have a tight family unit when I grew up. And most of the stuff that happened to me as a youngster was because of my family. I talked about how I was molested as a child. It was two different members of my family that did that. And I talked about how my house, it was so bad in my house that if you had money on you, you actually had to sleep with it in your underwear, because if not, somebody from the family would steal it from you. And of course, when you wake up the next day and ask who had it, nobody knew. So that's the kind of house that I grew up in. I once saw my uncle beat my mama with a cane, a wooden cane, and he beat her with it till the cane broke and splintered. When he went across her back with it. Again, that was family. That was a family issue that we had. So they use their term, we throw their term out there, family, blood is thicker than water, and they make it seem like family always have your back, but they don't always have your back. Especially when you're trying to do something for God, especially when you're trying, even if you're not doing godly things, sometimes just your success. If you're just a successful person, sometimes your family will be the main ones that's gonna hate on you. And we're gonna see that from tonight's lesson. And like I said, we have a tendency of the thinking of the nostalgia from when the family was tight, and we're gonna see it again. We're gonna see that happen tonight, where when no family did have my back, and I had certain family members that did do this, and because of that, we hold on to those good memories, and we kind of ignore where our relationship and what they doing with us now. And we so focused on the bad, on the good that used to happen, that we're not seeing the bad that's happening right now. And you see that a lot, like in the abusive relationship. I'm in my ministry, since I've been ministering, I did a lot with abusive women that's been abused and things of that nature. And you have to wonder, on the outside looking in, just like, how can they continue to be with this person after he's done this and that and that, or it is. And what I always find out what it is that, it's from they've been thinking about the good time. They're so nostalgic about the good time they have with this person that they're not seeing the bad time. They're not seeing the bad and seeing the bad that's on the horizon, not only the one that's right in front of their face, but the bad that's on the horizon if they keep on messing with this person. And that's what happened a lot, especially with family. With family, you get done there with the family, you think about when y'all were kids, and, oh man, we was kids, we was always together, and we was boys, and we hung out, and we did this and that, and you get to think about that. But then now y'all gotten older and grown up, and now you still trying to walk the path that God wants you to walk, and maybe that cousin that you was always buddy with. So I had cousins that we took a bath in the same bath, slept in the same bed. But when we got older, we went completely different paths. God took us in different directions, and you got to be able to recognize that. Because if not, you try to, because it's family, you try to do everything you can to bend over backwards to help them, and in reality, they might end up pulling you down. So you got to be careful. Like I said, this is not a family hatred sermon, but again, as a minister, I have to warn you of things to watch out for. And one of the most important parts of being a Christian is making sure you surround yourself with the right people and get the wrong people from around you. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, when I look back at my life, my family, or what I call family, because now I have a family. I have what I consider a real family. My wife and my kids, and we all had a tight bond, and we all different people, and of course we do our own things, but we truly came up as a family, which I thank God for every day, because I didn't even have an example on how to run a family or lead a family, but because I got into this word and got to give my life to God, He got him in the direction I need to go, and that's how I was able to develop my family. But God put my family together. It ain't something I did. God put that together. And now that I have a family, I look back at what I considered a family when I was younger, and I just realized we wasn't family. We wasn't really a family. We was family because we was blood related and had the same genetics, but we wasn't family at heart. And that's what you want to look for. You want to look for people that will be your family at heart. You know what I'm saying? Not only family by blood, but family by heart as well. In other words, they're willing to make the sacrifices and do what they need to do to push you forward and not be the main ones pulling you down, which family can do. And like I said, when I look at my family, we was blood related, but we weren't family. We were just a bunch of people that was related by blood and genetics that lived in the same house. We wasn't truly what I would consider a family. You know what I'm saying? And I love them to death. We had hard times and we struggled and we did battle together. But when it all came down at the end of the day, it was every man for themselves. And if they was able to do something to get ahead, to take advantage of the situation, take advantage of me to get ahead, they would do it. You know what I'm saying? See, that's not what true family does. True family don't do that. True family gonna have your back. And we're gonna see what's happened when tonight, like I said, through the story, we're gonna go through that blood ain't always thicker than water. Because like I said, a major part of the Christian life is making sure you surround yourself with the right people, and that includes family. There's some family that's going to be good for you in your walk with God, and there's some family that's not going to be. And I'm not saying just completely cut yourself off from them, but you want to distance yourself from them. And that's like I said, whether they're family blood related or family just people that you've met over the years that has been there for you. If y'all start going different directions, God will separate you. If y'all not going the same direction, you trying to follow the Lord, eventually He'll separate your paths. And you got to make the choice of whether you're going to follow the path that God's going to take you down or try to be stick with that family bond, but just because y'all family and let them pull you away from what God has for you in your life. You know what I'm saying? So, and I say that because over in Proverbs it talks about, in Proverbs chapter 18 verse 24 it says, a man that have friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. And like I said, man, I can tell you I am who I am today. And I was able to have the success that I was able to have, and I was able to accomplish a lot of things that I was able to accomplish because of people that I came across in my life that were like family to me. And there was more family to me than my own family was. Like even with my wife's family. My wife's family, they really kind of gave me an example of what family was. And yes, they had skirmishes and they talk back and forth and have little skirmishes with themselves. But I tell you what, I bet nobody else ain't gonna come in and say nothing about them. You know what I'm saying? Cause they was gonna be down. That's just how it was. Like they'll fight amongst each other, but there wasn't gonna be no outside people coming there. You know what I'm saying? And my family, my wife's family, they really took me in as family as well. And I mean, I love them all to death. We all have a great relationship. You know, sometimes you can't get along with your in-laws, but I love all of mine. We have a great relationship. You know, and like I said, there's been more people over my lifetime that has done more for me to be the success that I am and help me get to where I am today than my own actual family ever have. You know, so that's why I say blood ain't always thicker than water. You know, just because somebody is family to you because of blood don't always mean they're going to be family at heart as well. You know, and then, of course, last week I gave the last one, I gave some examples of people. And I'm not going to go through the whole intro, redo the whole intro, because like I said, if you want to see the whole intro, you can go back to part 1 and watch that. And this is just a continuation because the chapters was way too long to do them all in one sitting. You know, so, but at the same time, the whole point is just because they're family by blood don't mean that you are family by heart. You know, because family don't always got your back. Now, if you got real family, real family that supports you, they're going to have your back. But that's not always the case. And you have to be able to distinguish. And that's what I'm saying. It's not always the case. So you got to have the wisdom you need and the discernment you need to be able to distinguish between the two. You got to be able to distinguish between, okay, this is a family that truly loves me and have my back, or this is some part of my family that's going to hold me back if I keep going with them. And that's what the lesson tonight, you're going to have to be able to see that. And that's why I'm doing these lessons. I did part 1 last week, and I'm doing part 2 today to help you see that just because you're blood related, again, just because you're blood related and you're family by blood, don't mean you're a family at heart. And I got a lot of people that are family that me and them are not related by blood or genetics. Didn't even meet them till I was, in my adult years almost. But I love them as brothers. I love them as sisters. And they've done more for me to help me get to where I am than my actual family ever has. So like I said, we have to have wisdom and discretion. And that's why I'm doing this lesson to give you wisdom and discretion. Of course, we always know with strangers, we got to, watch who we hang around when it comes to strangers and just, around the people that come along. But we got to realize we have to do that with family as well. Because family can be just as detrimental to your health and your safety and your well-being as strangers can be, could ever be. And a lot of times, like I said, I found in my life, the strangers and people that I came across on my journey through this world has done more for me than my family actually has. So that's why I want to do this lesson tonight. That's the premise of it. Like I said, that's a little bit of the intro from last week, and we're going to go ahead and jump into them. Go ahead and pray, and I'm going to jump into the lesson tonight because we got 3 chapters that I'm going to go through. Now, I know y'all, with it being me, y'all like, oh man, goodness, 3 chapters, it's going to be 3 hours long. No, most of it is just story because this is actually a pretty interesting story. It's kind of I ain't gonna say weird story, but there's a lot of weird happenings in here. So most of it is just reading through the story. But altogether, I did come out with over the 3 chapters, which is going to be chapter 29, 30, and 31. I came out with about 26 things that I wanted to point out about family. And like I said, all of them ain't bad. Some of them are, majority of them are bad, but some of them are good as well. Because family, again, real family, when you have a real family, people that truly love you, truly have your back, then that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? It can prepare you to be successful. But you got to be able to realize and have the wisdom and discernment to be able to tell between which one is which. You got to be able to tell between, is this just somebody that I love and care for because we're blood, or is this somebody that I love and care for because they've been there for me and they're going to do what they need to do to push me forward. And that's going to be the lesson tonight, helping you be able to distinguish between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and pray, and then we'll get started on the lesson tonight. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. I Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight, Lord. And I thank you for these ones that joined in. I came in a little later than I wanted to. I was definitely planning on being off work a little earlier than I was, and things kind of got mixed up today, and I had a couple of issues I had to take care of. But we're here now, Lord, and you let the faithful ones hang around to hear this lesson. So I just thank you for that. Thank you for putting this word upon my heart and giving me the time to prepare for the lesson as well. And I just thank you for letting your spirit work through me to bring these lessons, to give the warnings to the people, help them see the things they need to see so they can have a great relationship with you. So, Lord, I ask you to be with me as I go through this lesson tonight. Go through your word tonight. Send your spirit down upon my heart. Give me the wisdom to bring out the significant points from this story, to help people, to warn people, and to open their eyes so they can have the wisdom and discernment they need when they're dealing with the people of this world. And again, especially family, which is what the subject we're going to be talking about tonight. I pray you send your spirit down upon the hearts of anybody that's watching this video, whether they're watching it live or later on, and just open their hearts up so a seed can be planted, and open their eyes up and give them the wisdom and discretion to be able to use to judge which ones that they should spend their time, put their time and effort into, and which ones they shouldn't, because it's holding them back from doing the work that you have them to do. Because that's the whole purpose. I'm not here to bash family. I'm not saying all family is bad. I'm not saying that you can't trust your family, but I am saying that you have to watch them just as you watch a stranger or your enemy as well. Because just because they family don't mean they have your best interest at heart. So I ask you just be with us tonight as we go through this word. Keep us all safe, and just more important, just open our hearts and minds so we can receive this word and get the lesson that you have for us all here tonight. I love you and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this ministry. And I say this prayer in your wonderful son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so again, we're talking about family, and again, family is very important. Don't get me wrong, family is very important. That's one of the attacks that the devil has put on this country because of family. You know, it's separating the family. So I'm not saying, hey, forget family, don't even try because they're bad for you. No, but I am saying you still got to watch them as well. The last lesson we went on part one, I did part one last Monday, and we had the situation with Jacob and Esau. They were two brothers, and of course they were twins, but Esau was born first, so he was technically the oldest. And the tradition of that time and that period and that area, the custom was that the older son was the one that inherited everything. Now, of course, we know that God had made the promise to Abraham and then to Isaac that, hey, you're gonna be this great nation, and through your descendants, you're gonna be this great nation, and basically the world is gonna be blessed through you. He had made that promise. So Jacob wanted that. And he ended up, through a series of events, he was able to steal his brother's birthright. So he stole his birthright from being the oldest, and then he stole his blessing as well. And that's what happened to him. So he basically screwed his brother over. His own brother, he screwed him over to get what he wanted, so he can benefit from his brother's not downfall, so to speak, but from his brother lack of understanding of what he was really doing. He took advantage of the situation because his brother came in starving from a hunt. And he ain't worried about no birthright, and Jacob hit him like, oh, well, I give you some of this food if you sell me a birthright. And you starving to death. He ain't thinking about no birthright. He didn't think nothing of it. And he sold his birthright to his brother, not realizing what he had really given away. He didn't realize the blessings that he had truly given away when he did that. So, so that, and then, of course, I'm not going to go back through it all. But after that happened, of course, Esau, figured out that Jacob had stole his blessing, and he made a plan to kill him. So then their mother heard about it, and she favored Jacob. So she came up with the bright idea to send him away to his uncle's house, which was her brother back in where she came from. So they came up with this idea to do that, and then Jacob, of course, he leaves to go to keep his brother from killing him. And it was supposed to be for a little while, so until his brother cooled off, but he ended up staying there for quite some time. So that's what happened in part one of the story. So now we're going to go to part two. And, and I don't believe in karma. What up, Chad? Glad you can join in. He actually got here almost at the beginning of the thing today. Look at you, boy. I'll tell you acting out today. But good to see you, bro. I hope you're having a good Monday. I'm glad you're here with us. So now I don't believe in karma. That's a Buddhist term. We all know what karma is. What goes around comes around kind of thing. I don't believe in that. But the Bible do kind of talks about karma, but it says this, and it's karma. I don't know why I can't pronounce it correctly, but the Bible does talk about that as well. It has the same concept, but in the Bible, the Lord tells us, as a man reapeth, so shall he soweth. So in other words, whatever you put out is gonna come back to you. If you out there doing bad, messing people over, screwing people over, eventually that's gonna come back, and you're gonna get screwed over. But if you out there giving your all, loving people, helping people when they're down, picking them up when they're down, encouraging them when they need the encouragement, then when you need those same things, it's gonna come back to you. So like I said, I don't believe in karma, but I do believe whatever you put out there, it comes back to you, because the Lord said himself, whatever you reap, you sow. So if you're out there sowing mischief and evil, then that's what's going to find you. But if you're out there sowing good seed and doing good, then that's what's going to find you as well. And we're going to see that tonight. We're going to have a situation where we're going to see a man reaping what he sowed. Because we saw in part one, well, like I said, Jacob messed over his brother Esau, and then he flees over to his uncle, and because, and he ended up staying with his uncle for some time, and the same thing that he did to his brother is going to basically be done to him. Now he's going to be not this, in the fact that he's going to get his birthright stolen, but he's going to get screwed over by somebody that he trusts, that's somebody that's supposed to be family. And that's why I'm saying, that's why the title of this lesson is Family Ain't Always Sticking. Matter of fact, what I'm talking about, Chad, he's here messing with him. That's one of the people I was talking about. Somebody that I met, that we blood, we like third or fourth cousins. But I mean, he's been like family. He's been family since day one. I mean, we've literally been kicking it since we was like months old. Like I was like one. He's almost a year older than me. So I was like one, and he was almost two, and we've been friends for life. You know what I'm saying? That's family right there. He's always had my back. He never screwed me over. You know what I'm saying? As far as I know of, always been loyal. That's what a real family does. And that's what I'm saying. Don't get so wrapped up in, well, he's my blood. We got the same blood. There's my brother, this and this. No, if it ain't family, if they're not for you, if they're not doing things to encourage you and to push you along, then they're not really family. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there's been more people in my life that I met that were strangers, that not even blood related, that has done more for me and been closer to family than me than my own family has been. And that's why I want to give y'all this warning tonight. You have to open your eyes and be able to see things like that. You have to be able to see if somebody's truly, because there might be people that's not genetically related to you that's more family than your real family are. But a lot of times we'll put those people down because our family hit us with that, well, man, blood thicker than water. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that don't even have nothing to do with family. We think it does. 95% of the people that use that term think that it means that your family got your back. But in reality, it means that soldiers bond closer when they shed blood together in war. What did I say? Hold on, I misquoted that. It says family. Let's see. I read it earlier and I misquoted. It says, dang, that was a long sermon. It says that it actually means that bloodshed in battle bonds soldiers more strongly than simple genetic. So again, blood ain't always sticking to water. There's people out there that'll be more family to you than your own family will be. And we're going to see that from this lesson tonight, because your own family, a lot of time, will be the ones that mess you up, mess you over. And we're going to see, like I said, Jacob, in part one, we saw what Jacob screwed over his brother Esau. And in part two, we're going to see what happened when he gets screwed over, because he's going to reap what he sowed. So that's why you got to be careful what you're doing out there. That's why I do my best to treat people the way I want to be treated. I try to do my best to help people whenever I can, to take care of people if I can. If I got it, if I got it, you can have it. I've always been like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when I was in school, the reason why I always end up in the friend zone, because I always try to treat the women with respect. I always try to help them, but they always wanted to go to the bad guys. I was always the good guy, so I always, fell short. But, you know what I'm saying, now that I'm older and I got daughters, I pray that same thing would be reciprocated to me. When, you know what I'm saying, if there's guys trying to mess my daughters over, so there's to be somebody, if I'm not around, there'll be somebody out there that'll look out for them like I looked out for females when I was younger, because you reap what you sow. And that's very important. So tonight we're going to see, like I said, we're going to get in the story of Jacob. Now, he's left his brother, he screwed his brother over. His brother wanted to kill him, so he fled from home, and he went to go live with his uncle to get away from his brother. And because he went, just because he ran away, don't mean his problem ain't gonna follow him there too. And the same thing that he did to the brother is gonna be done to him by his own family as well. So, like I said, we're gonna be in the book of Genesis, chapter 29, chapter 30 and 31 tonight. And of course, I'm gonna read to you out the New Living Translation, because there's a lost sheep ministry. There's a lot of people that are uneducated that I preach to. There's a lot of people. That's my wife's phone. My bad about that, y'all. But there's a lot of people I preach to or that don't really have a good sense of the Bible, and it's hard to understand the King James Version if you're not spending time in it. And that's why I do have the New Living Translation. But if I do see something in the King James New Translation that I feel it'd be stronger or better, or they misquoted or misinterpreted in the New Living Translation, I will read the King James. And I got a couple of instances where that's going to happen tonight. So I do read both versions, but I do it out the New Living Translation. But I am a King James believer. I always like to put that out there. So if y'all reading along with me, we're about to get started in chapter 29. We're going to start the story, and we're going to see what happens when the same thing that Jacob did to his brother is done to him. So it says in verse 29, like I said, it's 3 chapters, but most of it is story. So most of them I'm just going to be reading through the story. I could have skipped around, but I figured, people need the Bible. If I got a chance to read Bible to them, and this might be the only Bible you get today, so I'm going to go ahead and read through all of it. But it shouldn't take too long, but I ain't making y'all no promises because I don't like to lie. And I don't know what's going to happen, but let's go jump into this thing. So in verse 1, chapter 29 of Genesis, verse 1, the Lord tells us this. He says, so Jacob hurried on, finally arriving in the land of the east. Now he saw in the distance 3 flocks of sheep laying in the open field beside a well, waiting to be watered. But a heavy stone covered the mouth of the well. It was the custom there to wait for all the flocks to arrive before removing the stone. Now after watering them, the stone would be rolled back over the mouth of the well. Now Jacob went over to the shepherds and asked them, where do you live? At Haran, they said. Do you know a man there named Laban, the grandson of Nahor? Yes, we do, they replied. How is he? Jacob asked. He's well and prosperous. Look, here comes his daughter Rachel with his sheep. So, he goes to this well, end up, get to the place that he's finally, that he's been looking for. And just so happened, right when he get there, his cousin is coming to approach. So he got some family that's about to come into the picture. So he told them, they're talking this conversation. Now, why don't you water the flock so they can get back to grazing? Jacob asked. They'll be hungry if you stop so early in the day. We don't roll away the stone and begin to water until all the flocks and shepherds are here, they replied. Now, as this conversation was going on, Rachel arrived with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherd. So number one thing here, the first point in this story is saying, again, the first 3 or 4 are going to be positive. So don't think it's all family bashing. But the first one is a good one. It said, this is something that blood does do. Blood does tie you to your family in more ways than one. And a lot of who you are was inherited by genetics. And, and they got that old saying, the apple don't fall far from the tree. And that's true in a way, you know what I'm saying? And you can really see that, like, I got, like with me, I got my oldest son, of course, I've been raising him since he was 3, he's 23, so he's my son, don't get it wrong. But, he's biologically, he's not mine. And, and then, I got my 4 that's biologically mine. And it was always, I loved him much as a man can love a child, you know what I'm saying, raised him as he's my own. But there was always a difference there, you know what I'm saying? Like, we still didn't have that bond, like we had a more of a friend bond, a respect for each other, bond, you know what I'm saying? And he definitely respects me as dad, and call me dad to the day, of course. But we didn't have that bond, like you know what I'm saying? Like, he was mine bond, and he did certain things that I know he got from his dad. It's just certain things, certain traits he had that came to dad just like me. Even though my dad never was really around, there's certain things I do that I know I do because my dad do them, kind of thing. I got it from my dad. Same with my mom. It's certain traits and things that I have. Like my mom, she has a very bubbly personality. She gets along with everybody. Everywhere she go, people love her. You know what I'm saying? I got that from her. People love me. I don't know why, because I can be a jerk at times, but people love me. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I try to be a cool person. You know what I'm saying? So there is some truth to that as far as that blood thing and water, the genetics. A lot of things, the person you are, the things you do. Like a lot of time you see guys that grow up. Like for instance, I played ball. I was an athlete. I played ball. I ran track. I played basketball. I lifted weights. I mean, anything I can do athletic, I did. And of course, my sons, they came up great athletes. All of them were great athletes. You see what I'm saying? That's all genetics. So there is some truth to that. That your blood does tie you to your family in more ways than one. And it's not just, oh, well, we're blood and, we should have each other back, but it does tie you in more ways than one. And we see here with this situation, she said she was coming up there with her father's sheep for she was a shepherd. Well, guess what? Jacob and his family was also shepherds. And the reason why Jacob and his family was shepherd because his mom, which was Laban's sister, was a shepherd. You see what I'm saying? So that blood there, they inherited that trait or that skill that they have, because I guess somewhere in my family somebody must have been a chemist. I don't know if they was legal chemists, if you know what I'm saying, if you know my family, but somebody must have been good with some chemical, because I got it in me and it's naturally there. I don't know where it came from, but it's naturally there. You know what I'm saying? So your blood does tie you to family, your family in more ways than one. It does have that ability. A lot of times you see doctors, their kids grow up to be doctors. A lot of times you see ministers. I'm hoping me being a minister, some of my kids will grow up later on when they get out of their rebellious stage. Hopefully they'll be ministers. Hopefully that's in their blood as well. But that blood thing, there is some truth to it. There's a lot of things that you would do, a lot of things you experience, a lot of things that the traits that you will have that you inherited just from genetics. That happens. Unfortunately, the bad too. You got a lot of times the guys that get a girl pregnant and leave. Their kids end up doing the same thing. It's called that generational curse, and that's where that comes from. That's a genetics thing, because the apple don't fall far from the tree. So again, we got to remember that it is some truth to this. So I'm not saying blood don't bond you in a lot of ways, but I am saying just because you're blood don't mean you have to be loyal to that person if that person is not being loyal to you as well. So then he says, and we, like I said, we see where they were both shepherds because that was in their blood. You know what I'm saying? That was in their blood. That being shepherds was in their blood. That was their family did. That was his mom's family did, which was his uncle Laban's sister. And and he did the same thing because his mom did the same thing. And now we see his cousin, and he going to visit his cousin. She's the same thing. They're all shepherds because it's in their blood. So there is something to the blood. There is something to the genetics. But again, that don't mean you have to be loyal to that person just because you got these same blood characteristics, these same blood traits that you inherited from each other down the time through genetics. So then the next verse is in verse 10 said, and because she was his cousin, the daughter of his mother's brother, and because the sheep were his uncle Jacob's, because the sheep were his uncle's, Jacob went over to the well and rolled away the stone and watered his uncle's flock. So number two is this. Like I said, this is positive. When family is real, when you had that real bond, you had that real love for each other, real family will be there for you in your time of need. She was going to go there. She had these flocks. She's a woman, and if y'all understand the culture in that area, women really didn't have the power to do much. They don't have much power these days, but they really had no power back then. So if she would have got there and he wasn't there, she would just have to sit there and wait for all the men to decide that they were going to go and roll the stone away before she could do anything. But because her cousin was there, he was able to stand up for her, and he went and rolled the stone away, and he got the flocks fed. So again, everything's not negative about family. You know what I'm saying? It starts off good sometimes, but then it'll go bad. But real family, and you know what I'm saying? Real family. That's what I want y'all to understand if I'm doing this. I want you to be able to distinguish between real family bonds and real family love, as opposed to, oh, well, we're blood, so I'm going to be loyal just on that fact. No, real family going to have your back. And we see here where, because that was his cousin, that was his uncle's flocks, that was his uncle's possession, he stood up for her. And he went out there and he rolled the stones away and he watered his uncle's flock. So real family, number two, is real family will be there for you in your time of need. You know what I'm saying? So again, if you got somebody that's always there for you in your time of need, always got your back, you can call on them anytime, that's family. And again, it don't have to be blood. It can be anybody. You know what I'm saying? If they're there for you in your time of need, that's family. That's real family there. If you can call on them at any time, and if they got it, you got it, that's family. So I want y'all to understand that. And real family will be there for you in your time of need. And that's what we see happening here. His uncle, his cousin is there with his uncle's stuff. He need to get that taken care of, so he did what he needed to do to take care of it. So it said, then Jacob kissed Rachel, and tears came to his eyes. So number three is this. Again, it's another positive one. Number three is this. Real family can provide you with that comfort, protection, and stability you need in your life. You know what I'm saying? Real family would do that for you. And that's why I said family is important. And that's what the devil has been doing over all these years. That's why this country is the way it is. He's attacked our family and he's separated family. Where family used to be together and always have each other backs and be there for each other. Now it's separated. Every man for himself. I'm doing what I'm doing. Don't care about what you're doing. And in some cases, if you do better than me, I'm going to hate on you. You know, you got to be careful with that. But real family, they will provide you with that comfort, that protection, and that stability you need. That's why he kissed her and cried, because you got to understand, this is most likely his first time going away from his homeland, in the land of Canaan. This is the first time he's traveling. He's by himself. He's probably tired. He's hungry. He's scared. And he just happened to come across family. And when he came across some family, he embraced them. Like, oh, my goodness, my family. They gave him the stability. It's just like when I first came up here to Nashville, man. Like, I know what I'm saying. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, you know what I'm saying. I just knew I had a scholarship to go to school, and I had a room to sleep in. That was it. And I got up here, and it was a couple of people I did know that ended up coming up here too, but I wouldn't know where they were going to be here. I just happened to come across them on campus a couple of weeks up here. But at the same time, I met several guys up here that became my family. You know what I'm saying? And to this day, they're like brothers to me. So, you know what I'm saying? So, and family, they provide that comfort. That's what they did. I was a fish out of water, man. I was, you know what I'm saying, North Memphis dude, you know what I'm saying, this weird town, Nashville, and had never really been out of Memphis. Been out of Memphis a couple of times for like little trips, but never been out for a long period of time. So, man, I had no clue what to expect. I didn't know what the world was going to do with me, but I met some guys that was my family, and they gave me that comfort I needed. They gave me the protection I needed. They gave me the stability I needed so I can continue to grow and become the man I am. And again, that's what real family would do to you. And that's why when he saw her, he kissed her, he cried, because he knew he was with family. Now he can be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? He's been sleeping on, camping out. You know, you ain't telling. And you gotta understand, they didn't have cars and trains and stuff like that back in the day. So it ain't no telling how long he had been traveling, and where they stayed at was far away. So he had probably been, you know what I'm saying, walking on his journey for months. And he finally got there and he saw his family. He just broke down and cried. He kissed and like, thank you. So again, family, real family, can provide you with the comfort, the protection, the stability you need. But again, you got to make sure that's really family. And it don't always mean somebody that you're blood related to. And that's what you got to understand. It can be anybody. But in this case, it is a blood relation that he's finding his comfort in. But, you know what I'm saying, it ain't always, it can be anybody. And I know, like I said, when I got to Nashville, it was more people. Hey, Sister Rhonda, glad you was able to join in today, too. I appreciate you being here. But again, we just getting started. We on like a point number 3. So, you know, we still got a long time to go. So I appreciate you being coming in. But again, you know, real family, they can provide that comfort. They can provide that protection, that stability you need. You know, I look at, well, tell your mom I said hello. But I was looking at, you know, like my brother. I adopted both of my brothers. And both of them, when I adopted them, they was in bad situations. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and I was able to be that comfort, that stability they needed. So that's why I said real family can do that for you. But again, you got to be able to distinguish is this real family or not. Just because they're blood related don't make them real family. So then it says, so once he explained to her, and just in case you're trying to keep up, Sister Run, we're in Genesis chapter 29. We're going to be in 29, 30, and 31 if you want to read along with us. So in verse 12 it said, now he explained that he was her cousin, and on her father's side, her aunt, her cousin on her father's side, her aunt Rebekah's son. So Rachel ran quickly and told her father Laban. Now as soon as Laban heard about Jacob's arrival, he rushed out to meet him and greeted him warmly. Laban then brought him home, and Jacob told him his story. Just think, my very own flesh and blood, Laban exclaimed. So number 4 is then, this again is another positive one. When there's a genuine love for family, it can be a joy to have them around. See, they was happy. They like, oh my goodness, my nephew, you know, like I said, they were far away. And again, it ain't like today. It wasn't no texting and tweeting, and you can just get on Facebook and see what your people in another country was doing. And, you know, and it wasn't a lot of traveling back and forth because it took a long time. So for his nephew to show up, from, you know, a far country, he was happy. He was excited about it. And again, when you got a genuine love for your family, it'll be like that. You know what I'm saying? I've been at family gatherings where it's like, man, I don't want to be here. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just so much tension and backbiting and people talking behind each other back. Like with our family, again, we always try to have family reunions, but it never worked out because we just always in contention with each other. You know, but when it's real love, when you got a good genuine love for your family, man, when y'all get together, it be love. Like I said, when my wife, every year for the holidays, we have a family gathering, like, you know, Christmas, Thanksgiving, you know, the major holidays, and we have one at different houses. One holiday will be at our house, the next one will be at our sister's house, and the next one will be there and there and there, and it's always love, man. It's always love. It's always fun, and we always have a great time. We sit around talk about silly stuff we used to do. That's family there. That's how it should be. You know, and again, I know I'm not the only one that I've been at some family gathering and fights break out and things like that. See, that's not real family. You know what I'm saying? Real family is going to be love. You're going to have joy to be, if there's a genuine love there, you're going to have that love and that joy to be around your family. You know what I'm saying? You're going to want your family around. Like with my family now, my boys, they done moved out, and now I think they're getting homesick. To where, you know, and it's not necessarily homesick where they want to come home, but they're like, man, Dad, if we bought a house down in Kingston Spring, would you move down there? Like, no, I'm not moving on Kingston Spring. I have a hard enough time getting to work, and I stay 5 minutes away. I'm definitely gonna get to work on time if I'm an hour and a half away. Y'all know I'm horrible with time. I never make it to work, you know. But the thing is, they just want that family bond because we had that. You know what I'm saying? We did everything. We just did just about everything together. We went everywhere together. You know, and they get, you know, boys, they get 18, like, oh, yeah, I'm fine about myself. But they realize it ain't what they thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? It ain't fun. They thought it'll be fun for a little while. But eventually, that stuff get played out. And you're going to want some comfort. You're going to want some stability. And you're going to want people around you that you know that truly got your back. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think, you know, my opinion, you know, me and my wife talked about, that's what they want. You know, but at the same time, I told you, hey, y'all got to make your own way in this world. You know what I'm saying? So, but family, you want family. There's a genuine love for family. You gonna want family to be around, and that's just what it is. We had a genuine love for each other. I love my family. I love the family the Lord blessed me with, and I thank Him for it every day. And I thank Him for He gave me the ability to have that family. Because again, I didn't have nothing to go on because what I had as a youngster was not family. It was a group of people that was blood related that stayed in the same house, but it wasn't truly family. My family came as I grew up and I went out to the world and I met people. That became my family more than the family I had. You know, so when there's true love and there's genuine love in family, you're going to want your family to be around. And that's why when LeBan heard his nephew was there, they was happy about it. So, you know, again, this is the beginning of the story, and it all sounds good. You know, they happy he's there. They went out and embraced him. He done met his cousin. You know what I'm saying? He kissed her, which is weird to us, but that's how they did back in the day. You know, we all people, I know a lot of things I get people, they were like, well, I can't believe people dating their cousins and marrying their sisters and stuff like that. Well, if you believe the Bible, God only made Adam and Eve. So guess what? The first babies and the first wives and the husband came from, they were all sisters and brothers. If you truly believe the Bible, you know, it wasn't like He made Adam and Eve, and then He made some weird little race of people over somewhere else so they can marry the kids of Adam and Eve. No, they married their sisters and brothers because the bloodline was pure back then. You do that now, you're gonna end up with especially mentally retarded kids because the bloodlines become so polluted and things. But back then it was pure. It was nothing for that to happen. And still over in that area, it's still some people practice that today. You know, so it's not a big deal. We look at it disgusting because we like, oh, that's nasty, that's incest. But that ain't how they looked at it back then. It was survival. You know what I'm saying? If you the only person you got is your sister, you know, you Adam and Eve, and you got two boys, and then I'm pretty sure they didn't talk about the girls, but they had to have some girls at some point. Again, if you believe the word of God, so it wasn't a big thing. So he met his cousin, you know what I'm saying? She was a beautiful, and we're going to see that she was beautiful. She was a beautiful woman, and he met his cousin, and, you know, kind of fell in love with her, you know, and he was amongst family. So he had that comfort, he had the protection, he had the stability he needed, so he was happy. So like I said, family ain't all bad, and I don't want y'all to think that, but I do want you to understand that just because they're blood related don't mean they're family by heart. And we're going to see that now in the next section where that's going to come up. So now he's been there for a little while. The next section, I say he's been there for a little while. He's been there about a month. So now when the real family love about to start being shown. So it says, now after Jacob had been there about a month, Laban said to him, you shouldn't work for me without pay just because we are relatives. How much do you want? And number 5 is this. A majority, and a lot of these y'all going to hear me say a majority of the time or sometimes. And the reason why I'm saying that because it's not absolute. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing in this world that's absolute other than the love of God. The love of God will always be there. That's absolute. But everything else, you know what I'm saying? Nothing is 100%. And that's why I'm going to say majority of the time or some of the time because it's not 100%. But it does happen a lot. And this number 5 is one of those situations. A majority of the time, we got to understand something. Family and business don't mix. You know, we've heard that said before, but that is so true because when you're working with family, family feel almost entitled. Like, oh, well, that's not my cousin. I can get away with this. I can get away with that. You know, or the vice versa. If it's your cousin, you got you the boss, and you got, you know what I'm saying, or you the owner, and you got your cousin or somebody working with you. You can feel you can pay him less than you would pay anybody else because it's family. You see what I'm saying? Family don't always mix, and we're gonna see right here because of this little arrangement they have that they're gonna have that is gonna cause some contention between them. So you gotta understand when dealing with family, it don't always mix. Like I said, there's plenty of business out there, family business, where families work together and it's worked out perfectly. That's why I didn't say family and business never mix. I ain't gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not absolute. The only thing absolute in this world is the love of God and the grace of God. But you know what I'm saying? A majority of the time, though, I will say that family and business don't mix. You know what I'm saying? That's if you know anything about business, they always tell you that. You know what I'm saying? That's one of their concept, one of their principles they use. Don't mix business and family together because it can turn out bad. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times family has been ruined over money, loaning somebody money, or investing in their business and it didn't go right, and they end up screwing them over. It happens a lot with family and business. So we gotta understand that family and business doesn't always mix. I ain't gonna say it never mix, but a majority of the time it doesn't. And we're gonna see that as we get started here. So he told him, said, you know, you shouldn't work for me without pay just because we are relatives. So how much do you want? So they make this business deal. So then in verse 16 he says, now Laban had 2 daughters, Leah, who was the oldest, and her younger sister Rachel. Now Leah had pretty eyes, but Rachel was beautiful in every way with a lovely face and a shapely figure. So, you know, my mind immediately go, when I hear that, I always think like Rachel had that booty. That's what they said. That's basically, if y'all know, that's me interpreting it for y'all. That is the New Living Standard version that I just created. That's what they just said there. Rachel had that booty. Leah was all right. She was cute, but Rachel was fine and she had that booty. So that's what he was looking at. He's like, she's thick. You know what I'm saying? So then it says, since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he told her father, I'll work for you for 7 years if you give me Rachel, your younger daughter, as my wife. You know what I'm saying? Agreed, Laban replied. I'd rather give her to you than someone on the outside of the family. So she had to be super fine. He was willing to give up 7 years of his life for her. So she was super fine. You know what I'm saying? So then it says, so Jacob spent the next 7 years working to pay for Rachel. But his love for her was so strong that it seemed to him but a few days. You know, and when I always read that, I always think like, oh, that's so romantic. I can see him saying, saying that to her, spitting that game in her ear, like, I know I got to work for you for seven years, but, I'm so in love with you, baby, that it almost seemed like 7 minutes. And she'd be like, oh, and I don't know if that's the kind of game he ran on her, but, you know what I'm saying? But that's what it said. There's like, he was such a love with her that, 7, and I would say this, you know what I'm saying? Me and my wife, we've been together almost 20 years now. And we've been married for almost 17. It'll be 17 this coming up April, so 16 and a half. But we've been together 20. And I promise you, you know what I'm saying? I love her to death. And I mean, it's just, we both laugh sometimes because it don't seem like we've been together for no 20 years. It just don't. When you had that kind of love, I really say that's true. And that's not me just running game because my wife don't even watch my sermons because she had to hear this out of my mouth all the time anyway. But it does. When you have that deep love for somebody, that time will go by fast. And that's how much he loved her. He cared for her and loved her so much that, even though it was 7 years, he said it only felt like a few days. So then in verse 21, he said, now finally, the time came for him to marry her. He said, I have fulfilled my contract, Jacob said to Laban. Now give me my wife so that we can be married. So again, this is basically a business deal. This man saying, hey, I'll work for you for 7 years. You give me your daughter. So again, this is family. So it shouldn't be no qualms. The terms seem pretty simple. It shouldn't be no misunderstandings there. It should be no qualm. But again, this is what happens when you deal with family. Because you put all your trust out there. You're like, oh, that's family. It shouldn't be an issue. I trust you kind of thing. Because you're family, your blood of my blood and all that. But that ain't always true. And that's why I want y'all to see. That's why I say, still, when you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with strangers or you're dealing with family, you still need to ask God for wisdom and discernment to make sure that you're dealing with them the right way. Because just because they're family don't mean they can always be trusted. Because you see here, he says, he told him, he said, I fulfilled my contract. Jacob said to Laban, now give me my wife so that I can be married, so we can be married. So Laban invited everyone in the neighborhood to celebrate with Jacob at a wedding feast. Now that night when it was dark, Laban took Leah to Jacob, and he slept with her. And Laban gave Leah a servant Zilpah to be her maid. But when Jacob woke up in the morning, it was Leah. What sort of trick is this? Jacob raised at Laban. I worked 7 years for Rachel. What have you what do you mean by this trickery? So you see what happened? Same thing that happened to him. Same thing happened to see they go there. They're reaping what you're sowing. He tricked his brother into selling his birthright, and he tricked his dad into giving him the blessing, and now he got tricked. So that's why I say you got to be careful what you put out there. The energy you put out there. You put out negative energy, negative is gonna find you. You put out good, good is gonna find you. But number 6 is this, and I said it a little earlier. I got a little ahead of myself. But we see from this situation now. Again, he made an agreement with his family. You know what I'm saying? He made an agreement with his uncle. Not only it wasn't just family, it's your uncle. Your uncle always supposed to be kind of like almost like your dad, kind of take care of you kind of thing. You know, and this is his uncle. So he trusted his uncle. He did what he did. He held up his own end of the bargain. So, you know, family, you expect family to hold up the end of the bargain too, especially if y'all strike a deal together. But he didn't. And he switched them on him. Instead of giving him the girl that he worked for, he gave the older sister. So number 6 is this. Just because they are family don't mean they can be trusted. Just because they're family. Now, again, I know that sounds harsh, but you got to understand that, man. This is a cold, cold world. And just because people are family don't mean they can be trusted. You got to see, again, this family, just because they blood related, which is the situation, don't mean their heart is in the same place as yours. So you got to establish some rules, some foundations when you talk to them and make sure everything's on the up and up. Because if not, they'll screw you over. You know, and like again, it sounds bad, but family do that. They'll be there for you. Real family will be there for you. They will lift you up. They will help you get to where you need to be. But fake family, they'll be the ones that pull you down, or they'll be the first one to take advantage of the situation and screw you over. And that's what he did. He knew that Jacob was working for Rachel. He knew that Jacob was in love with Rachel. He had been there for 7 years. So I'm pretty sure he's seen them talking. He knew how Jacob felt about Rachel. But then when it came down to him, the hold up at the end of the bargain, what he do? He switched it up on him and gave him Leah. No, shoes out. So again, you know, just because they are family don't mean they can be trusted. So again, I'm saying that I'm not down in family. I'm just saying you have to use wisdom and discernment in every situation. And that's basically what I want y'all to understand. I'm not just saying don't trust family, they'll get you. But use wisdom and discernment with everything. Don't just pick and choose where you're going to use the wisdom and discernment if the Lord has blessed you with that. Make sure you use it for everything because it's important. All right, so then he said in verse 26, it's now our custom to marry off a younger daughter ahead of the firstborn, Laban replied. Wait until the bridal week is over, and you can have Rachel too. That is, if you promise to work another 7 years for me. So you see what he did there? He took advantage of it. So number 7 is this. If you don't watch them, family will be the first one to take advantage of your situation. So again, that's what I'm telling y'all. I'm just giving y'all warnings about what family can do. Don't lower your guard because hey, there's my family. I trust them, and I'm gonna put my full faith and trust in them. No, you gotta vet them and watch them and keep an eye on them just like you would a stranger. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody that just came around that you don't really know. You gotta watch family as well. Because they know your situation. He knew the situation that Jacob was in. He knew Jacob loved Rachel, and yet he used it to his advantage. And you know what I'm saying? And why? Because he wanted another 7 years of work out of him. And y'all think like, well, maybe he's gonna be proven when we get to the next chapter what he knew what he was doing. Because he knew. Think about it. When Jacob made the deal, he knew if that was their custom that they don't marry off the oldest one before the youngest one, then he would have said something that first day. If he was really family, he would have told them. He knew what he was doing. He did it on purpose because he knew, he was family. He'll trust me, and when the time comes, I'm just gonna mess him over. You know what I'm saying? And he'll be all right. He's family. He'll be all right. Blood thicker than water. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I said you gotta watch that. Just because they're family don't mean they can be trusted. And if you let them, family will be the first ones to take advantage of your situation because they'll be the ones that you open up to. They'll be the ones that you tell everything. Think about when we see a lot of these, a lot of time when like people die, things of that nature, like especially like celebrities and famous people, and they doing the documentaries and stuff. Who are the main ones sitting there, telling all their dirt? It's family. Who's the main ones putting out all these tell-all books? It's family. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because they trusted that person and they confided in that person, and their family used them trusting them and confiding them, and they used that the information they had and that leverage they had as family to hold it over them and to take advantage of the situation. So again, that's what I'm just saying. I'm just warning y'all. As your minister, I have to warn y'all about these things. I'm not saying family is evil, but I am saying you have to watch them just like you watch everything else. Don't just put your full faith and trust in them because they're family. You know what I'm saying? Because family don't always have your best interest at heart. And that's what he did. He took advantage of him because he wanted them to work for him for another 7 years. You know, and then he told him, he said, I know you want a Rachel, but here you go Leah for now, and then I give you Rachel too if you work in that for another 7 years. So what did he do? He got another 7 years out of him. So then he said, so Jacob agreed to work 7 more years, a week after Jacob had married Leah. Now Laban gave him Rachel too, and Laban gave Rachel's servant Bilhah to be her maid. So Jacob slept with Rachel too, and he loved her more than Leah. And he then stayed and worked for additional 7 years. So number 8 is this. Again, we're dealing with family. With dealing with family, you can lose a lot of time and effort waiting for and dealing with family. So again, you got to be careful with that. You know, he was only supposed to be there for 7 years, but because he was dealing with family, trusted his family, now he got to be there for another 7 years. So it went from just 7 years to now 14 years to get what he should have got in 7. See, that's 7 years of his life wasted that he could have been somewhere else doing something else for God, but now he's stuck there because his family messed him over. You see what I'm saying? So, again, just because they family don't mean they have your best interest at heart, and you need to make sure that you're using your wisdom and discernment, asking the Lord. If you don't have wisdom, you know, the Lord said, James said, he that lack wisdom, let him ask of the Lord, and he will give it liberally. So if you don't have the wisdom and discernment to deal with your family, ask the Lord for it. You know what I'm saying? But don't just take their word for it. Don't just trust them fully because they're family, because blood is not always thicker than water. They don't always have your best interest at heart. And we see here where his own uncle, you know what I'm saying, somebody that should be protecting him and should be helping him get ahead, is the very one that just messed him over and got 7 more years out of his life from him. You know, basically stole 7 years of his life away from him. So then it says, because Leah was unloved, the Lord let her have a child while Rachel was childless. Now, you know, I hate the way they say it because it's almost like it ain't Jacob's fault, because it ain't like he went and said, I want Leah and Rachel. You know what I'm saying? He got tricked into being married to Leah, basically. So, but it makes him look like a bad guy saying that he didn't love her when really he didn't love her. It's like that wasn't where his heart was at. You see what I'm saying? His heart wasn't with her, and he got tricked into this situation. But at the same time, you know, he didn't love her. He loved Rachel. That was the one that he loved the most. So it said, but because Leah was unloved, the Lord let her have a child while Rachel was childless. So what you got to understand about that, now, again, you got to understand the custom and the culture of that day. Back then, today we look at kids as bad. Oh man, we got somebody here, some certain dudes, like me, I was having, I'm a responsible person anyway. I always wanted a family. But some dude, they hear they girl pregnant, oh, they lose it. Oh my God, my life is over. A woman here, did she pregnant? Oh my God, life is over, kind of thing. But back then, it was more dishonorable not to have kids, because their way of thinking was, if you didn't have kids, then you're not blessed, because kids are blessings. Regardless of whether the timing was right or whatever, the kids are blessings. There are several people I know and they'll tell you that, hey, if it weren't for my kid, I wouldn't be here right now. And I know my kids, me having my kids, helped me mature a lot. You know what I'm saying? Same with my older son. Him, when he had his daughter, I was always worried about him, how he was going to do as he became a man, because he had a knack of being immature. But when he had his daughter, it made him mature drastically. You know what I'm saying? So kids are blessings, and we got to understand that kids are blessings. So back then, kid was a blessing. So if a woman couldn't have a child, that was like a shameful thing, because she couldn't give her husband an heir to his throne or in his inheritance, so to speak. So that was a bad thing. So for Leah to be able to have, she was unloved. So for her to be able to have a child, and Rachel couldn't have a child, man, that was kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like, yes, you know what I'm saying, like, well, you might got my husband's heart, but I got kids, and he should love me more. At least that was her thinking. But number 9 is this. But you notice what the word said, because Leah was unloved, the Lord let her have a child while Rachel was childless. So number 9 is this. The Lord sees your plight when you're dealing with family as well as with your enemies. Because she's not in a situation where she's dealing with enemies. Now, they're going to kind of become enemies because they're sisters and they're going to be rivals. Matter of fact, I can tell you exactly where it's in the Bible. I think it's in Proverbs, you know what I'm thinking, but it says never marry a woman and her sister because they'll be rivals. And this situation here is the very epitome of that. And this is back in Genesis before time, but and it might have became because of this situation. But this is the exact epitome of it. So again, this ain't I lost my train of thought. But that's what I'm saying here. This is gonna end up being a rivalry, and because it's not a competition, but it's gonna kind of turn into a competition kind of thing. But it said because the Lord saw her, he gave her a child while Rachel was childless. So Rachel had the heart of Jacob and had out love, but Leah had the children. You know what I'm saying? So again, the Lord, even though she's not, that's what the point I was trying to make. Even though she's not necessarily with her enemy, we gotta understand the Lord sees us in everything. In everything we do, everything we're involved in, the Lord sees us in that, and He will see us through it. So just like, you know what I'm saying, as if she was in a plight with an enemy, He also see it when you're dealing with family as well. So, you know what I'm saying, we'll easily go to the Lord when we're facing an outside enemy, but sometimes we try to deal with family problems on your own, but we got to learn to put all of it in God's hand. And that's the point I want to make there, put it all in God's hand, because I'm pretty sure that's what Leah did, because she felt the unlove. She felt the unlove. She knew what her dad had did and basically tricked Jacob into loving her, and that could have done a lot for her confidence. She had to feel bad about that, but I mean, what could she do? Back in the day, they didn't have the option to really say anything about that, so she just had to kind of go with the flow. But the Lord saw her situation. He saw the situation she was in, and He blessed her. So it says, so Leah became pregnant and had a son, and she named him Reuben, for she said, the Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me. So again, she realized that the Lord saw her. She knew she was miserable. She knew the situation she was in. She knew the plight that she was stuck in, that she was in this loveless marriage, but she knew the Lord was with her and He saw her. And she was happy because of that. And she was blessed because of that. Then in verse 33, it says she soon became pregnant again and had another son, and she named him Simeon. For she said, the Lord heard that I was unloved and has given me another son. So once again, she's realizing, yeah, I'm in this bad situation, but I got the love of the Lord there. He sees me in my plight. Even though I'm having to struggle with my family, He's still there helping me through that as well. Then verse 34 said, again she became pregnant and had a son, and she named him Levi. For she said, surely now my husband will feel affection for me, since I have given him 3 sons. So again, because that was an honor. What Rachel haven't had any, she's had 3 already. So that was an honor, and she was like, man, maybe, he should love me because I gave him a baby now. And a lot of women I've seen women that have that mentality. They be with a guy, and the guy ain't really interested, so they try to get pregnant by him, to get his affection. And me personally, that's the wrong way to go about it. But she was doing more. She was already stuck in the situation. She was already married, because again, they didn't have the rights back then to say yes or no. If her dad said she had to go marry this guy, then that's basically what she had to do. So, but the Lord was with her, and He was vindicating her, and He was giving her these blessings of these kids. So then in the last, then verse 35 said, now once again she became pregnant and had a son, and she named him Judah. For she said, now I will praise the Lord, and then she stopped having children. So she had 4 sons to none, Rachel, and she was the one that was in love. You see what I'm saying? So again, the Lord saw her in her plight, even though she was dealing with family, and she was basically in the middle of a family struggle between her and her sister, but the Lord still blessed in all that. And you know what the funny thing about this is? The sons that she had, the 4 sons that she had, 2 of them are 2 of the main tribes of Israel, because Levi, that was the tribe where all the priests came from. That's the tribe where Moses came from. So that's Moses' ancestor. She came from this woman that Jacob didn't even want or love. And then, of course, she had Judah, and we know who came from Judah. That's the bloodline of Jesus. So because she was in this relationship, even though Jacob didn't want her, so to speak, she was able to produce children that end up having a mighty effect on the whole world. Because, like I said, Jesus came out of Judah, Moses came out of Levi, and he's the one that freed the Israelites and finally, helped them become a nation, the nation that the Lord had promised them to be. And then, of course, we know what Jesus did. That's why I'm here today, because of His love and His grace. So again, she was unloved, but the Lord was still with her in that situation, and He blessed her with these sons. And she ended up having, like I said, 2 of the most important children that Jacob had, because it became 2 of the most important tribes of Israel. So then in verse 30, chapter 30, starting chapter 30, said, now when Rachel saw that she wasn't having any children, she became jealous of her sister. Give me children or I will die, she exclaimed to Jacob. So number 10 is this. Sometimes family will be the main ones that are jealous of your success. And she was jealous. You know what I'm saying? She shouldn't have been jealous. She had her husband's heart. She had, it's crazy how life works sometimes. She had what Leah wanted, and Leah had what she wanted. You see what I'm saying? So that's just how the way things always work themselves out. You know, she had what Leah wanted, and Leah had what she wanted. So she really shouldn't be jealous because she had the main thing that Leah wanted, but she was. You know, and that happens sometimes. It's happened. Sometimes family be the ones that's jealous of your success, especially when y'all grew up together. You know, same house, same situation, environment, whatever, and then you end up somehow, through God's grace, making it farther than them. And a lot of times they'll be the ones that get jealous. They'll be the main ones hating on you. Again, if I tell you, look at those documentaries of people, talking about celebrities. Sometimes the people that's talking the worst about them will be their own family because they're jealous. They feel, oh, well, why couldn't that have been me kind of thing? Why couldn't I have gotten this success? Why couldn't I have been blessed like that? And they end up letting that turn into resentment and hatred towards you because, not that you did anything to warrant it, but just because of the way they feel, because they didn't feel things worked out for them in their life the way it should have worked out for you. And we got this situation here where Rachel's, this is her own sister again. So we see the band and Jacob kind of having a little tiffy family, once again, family. And now we see these two sisters within the same story having a tiffy. So again, just because you're blood related, don't mean that you're truly family. True family, you're not going to be fighting with each other. You're not going to be backbiting each other. You're not going to be sneaking behind each other's back, screwing each other over. So you're going to be there for each other. But we see here in this situation, and what happens so often in this world today, that sometimes family is the ones that mess you over the most. And now because Leah's having these babies and Rachel's childless, now she's jealous of her sister. So now, of course, this is going to cause even more resentment. So she go to her husband telling him, you need to give me some children or die, or I'm going to die. And then Jacob flew into a rage, which of course he should. He said, am I God? He asked. He's the only one able to give you children, which of course is true. I'm not God. How can I give you children? If God ain't giving it to you, then there's nothing I can do. So then he said, then Rachel told him, sleep with my servant Bilhah, and she will bear children for me. So Rachel gave him Bilhah to be his wife, and Jacob slept with her. Now Bilhah became pregnant and presented him with a son. And Rachel named him Dan, for she said, God has vindicated me. He has heard my request and given me a son. Then Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob a second son. And Rachel named him Naphtali, for she said, I have had an intense struggle with my sister, and I am winning. So you see, now it's become this big competition. Instead of, so matter of fact, before I get ahead of my point, number 11 is this. Sometimes instead of your family being your greatest supporters, they'll be your greatest opposition. So instead of her supporting her, like, oh girl, I'm happy for you and everything, she's upset. So now she's turned into a competition, and she got this resentment to her sister, towards her sister, because her sister's having babies and she's not. So you see what family will do to you. Think they'll be the ones that have your back, that'll be there to support you and to push you farther along. But sometimes they can be the ones that oppose you the most because they're jealous. They feel they should have what you have. Sometimes they feel entitled that they should have what you have, even though they ain't putting the work or have the blessing that God gave you. But they feel they should. And because of that, it almost start up some resentment and hate towards you. And instead of them pushing you forward and supporting you, they'll be your greatest opposition. So then it says, meanwhile, Leah realized that she wasn't getting pregnant anymore, so she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob to be his wife. So soon Zilpah presented him with another son, and Leah named him Gad, for she said, how fortunate I am. Then Zilpah produced a second son, and Leah named him Asher, for she said, what joy is mine, the other women will consider me happy indeed. Now, can we just take a moment and realize, I don't know if this guy is the luckiest man in the world. What he got 4 women, just basically throwing booty at him all the time, and you can say they're pretty fruitful and he's pretty fruitful. So I don't know. Me personally, as a man, you read it like, man, this guy you got to be lucky. But then at the same time, I think about, man, I have a hard time dealing with one. I can imagine dealing with four, and then especially with like two of them are basically going against two, because I'm pretty sure Rachel and her servant was always trying to outdo Leah and her servant, and you got this competition with his affection. But Jacob's stuck in the middle, so I don't know if he's a lucky man or a cursed man. And I mean, he seemed to have his pimp hand strong, because I don't see him having much trouble with it. But like, man, I was like, man, how lucky you just got get? He got four ladies throwing themselves at him. He must be a lucky guy or unlucky. I don't know. He probably had a headache all the time, and I can imagine. I know in my house, man, I got 3 women in my house, and it seemed like after a while, all their periods sync up, and it's 1 week of hell. I'm telling y'all, it's 1 week every month where I tried to avoid the house at all costs, because they're all on their periods and they always drive me crazy. So I don't know if he's a lucky man or a cursed man, to be honest. But I mean, it's just, like I said, this is just a weird story. He's got all these wives and all these kids, and apparently he's pretty potent, and he a bad mamma jamma, because he got a lot of kids on his hands, and he ain't even done yet. So in verse 14 it said, now one day during the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes growing in the field and brought the roots to his mother, Leah. And Rachel begged Leah to give some of them to her. And in verse 15 said, but Leah angrily replied, wasn't it enough that you stole my husband? Now you will steal my son's mandrake roots too. So verse 12 is this, and again, this is something that happen when you know what I'm saying, when you're having these family issues. Family issues can cause you to have resentment towards those that you once truly loved. Because you think about it, before Jacob came along, they don't really give the history of Leah and Rachel, but they seem to get along pretty fine. It seemed to be, I don't see any indications of there was being any contention there, but now, because Jacob came in the mix, and again, he, showing love more toward one than the other, now we have this contention going on, and this kind of a spike going on. And she just simply asked for some mandrake. She's like, well, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't enough that you stole my husband. And the reality, I'm like, hold on, actually you stole her husband, because, you know what I'm saying, he was working for her, not you. Now, at the same time, I don't know if they was aware that was the situation. I don't know if they was aware that the contract that Jacob had made with his Laban, their father, was for Rachel and not Leah. Maybe they didn't know the details of this, because again, women didn't really have rights back then. So I guess they didn't have to disclose it. And maybe Laban just went and said, hey, you need to marry this guy, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe she didn't know. But she was like, you already stole my husband, But, there's some stuff out of spite. There's some resentment there. That's what the way it's worded. He said, wasn't it enough that you stole my husband? Now you will steal my son's mandrakes too. So once again, there's some resentment there. And we don't think, there's no indication that before this situation came up that they didn't have a close relationship. So that's what happened when you have family issues. It'll make you have resentment toward people that you once loved and cared about and respected, and you start resenting them because of things that comes up in family issues. So again, you have to be careful with that, and you got to realize some family people, they hold grudges for years. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's best to just squash this stuff and let it go, and some are able to do that, but then some is not. And they'll hold that for forever. I know people, brothers that ain't talked to years because they had a little falling out or something. So you got to, again, just because they family don't mean they're really family, because, a real family, you should be able to talk these things out and work these things out, communicate these things, and be there for each other. But we see here, instead of this bringing them together, it's kind of pulling them apart. And that's what happened when you deal with family. A lot of times, little small things will pull you apart and make you have resentment toward people that you once truly cared for. So then the next verse it says, so Rachel said, I will let him sleep with you tonight in exchange for some mandrake roots. So again, this man just been, I feel bad for this guy. He just getting thrown around and traded like a piece of meat. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to say that I wouldn't like to be in that situation. I'm just playing. Y'all don't tell Ray as I said that. But it's just crazy. Like I said, this is a crazy story. And a man today, I just couldn't fathom this going on. And they're just kind of bargaining for who he's going to sleep with and who's going to give his affection to that night. I just think it's pretty crazy to think of in today's time. So then in verse 16 says, so that evening, as Jacob was coming home from the fields, Leah went out to meet him. You must sleep with me tonight, she said. I have paid for you with some mandrake roots my son has found. So Jacob slept with her, and God answered her prayers. So we see once again, from number 9, she was in this plight with her sister, and we see that the Lord is still watching over her. He's still hearing her prayers, and he's still seeing, because obviously at this point she had put it in God's hand. And there's going to be a point that's going to come up a little later. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but she put it in God's hand, and God saw her plight as she was going through this situation with her sister and her husband. Her husband don't love her, and her sister is jealous of her, but yet the Lord was still blessing her. So then it says she became pregnant again and gave birth to her 5th son, and she named him Issachar, for she said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband as a wife. And then in 19 said, then she became pregnant again and had a 6th son, and she named him Zebulun, for she said, God has given me good gifts for my husband. Now he will honor me, for I have given him 6 sons. So you got to understand, she's responsible for him having 8 of his kids, all sons. So that should be a blessing, And that's what she said, God has given me good gifts for my husband. Now he will honor me, for I have given him 6 sons. So number 13, don't forget that even, because again, she was doing all this, having this whole competition because she didn't feel love. And it says she wasn't really loved. So that's why she's having this competition with her sister. Her sister's jealous because she got all these kids, and she's jealous of her sister because her sister had the heart of the husband. You know what I'm saying? So we got to understand. But yet she put it in God's hand. And we see here in number 13, my number 13 point is this. Don't forget that even if your own family doesn't love you, the Lord always will. And we see where it says, she said herself, God has given me good gifts for my husband. Now he will honor me, for I have given him 6 sons. So even though her husband don't love her, we can see that God still loves her because he blessed her with 6 sons. And again, back then, you were definitely blessed if you had that many kids, and all of them being boys as well. Because, again, not being, what do they call it? Sexist, not sexist, or I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Misogynistic, but back then that's just how it was. You know what I'm saying? They didn't value women a lot. You know what I'm saying? And there was more. They value sons more than the women back in that time. So for her to have 6 sons, it shows that she was truly blessed and God was with her. So even though she didn't have the love of her husband, she had the love of the Lord, and that's what matters the most. So then it says, now later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Now, if y'all remember the story I did a few weeks back, it was called what was it? The Dangers of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. That daughter Dinah that she had, that it just named her, that she was the one that was in that story, and of course that comes up a few chapters down the road. But that's her. So then it says, so altogether she was responsible for Jacob having at least 9 kids, and it might be more that they didn't even their name, because I don't know if he had more daughters or not. I know they had that one daughter, but he probably had more daughters than that. They just didn't name them because, again, women didn't get as much, wasn't valued as much back then as they were. And they talk about Dinah because of the story that came up where she ended up getting raped but going down to that town. And, of course, I did that lesson on that. So in verse 22 it says, now then God remembered Rachel's plight. So again, saying the Lord see them. They in the struggle, but they're not in it alone. The Lord see them, even though they're not struggling with an outside enemy. They're struggling with their family, somebody in their own house. But the Lord still saw them, and He kept her hand upon them. He said, then God remembered Rachel's plight and answered her prayers by giving her a child. And she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. God has removed my shame, she said, and she named him Joseph, for she said, may the Lord give me yet another son. So number 14 is this. Be sure that when you're struggling with your family, that you remember to put it in God's hands. And like I said, that was going to be my point. But that seemed like that's what Leah did. She put it in God's hand. And that's why every time she got pregnant, she praised God for it. She even gave the kids godly names because she realized they was blessed from the Lord. And I think Rachel, because initially Rachel tried to do it herself, by giving Jacob her servant. She tried to do it herself, but then she realized, let me put it in God's hand. And she put it in God's hand, and what did God do? He blessed her because of it. And He blessed her, and He finally gave her a son. So then she said, He removed my shame, and she named him Joseph, for she said that may the Lord give me yet another son. So at this point, this man has 11 kids. That's crazy. I think this brother, I think this brother B's family from the Bible. You know what I'm saying? But at this point they got 11 kids. So that's crazy. So that man is definitely a fertile dude. But it's between 4 different women. So he's a fertile, lucky dude. The fertile, luckiest dude in the Bible, I guess. So then we go to 25. He says, now soon after Joseph was born to Rachel, Jacob, and back to this. Now that kind of was a little really side story within the story, but again, you still see the struggle between family. You still see the struggle between family, and you still see this. Just because they're family, don't mean they always got your back. So now we go back to the other family struggle that we're having, which is why we're going through this lesson here. So it said in verse 25, it said, now soon after Joseph was born to Rachel, Jacob said to Laban, I want to go back home. Let me take my wives and children, for I have earned them from you, and let me be on my way. You know I have fully paid for them with my service to you. Now remember, at this point, he had been working with this guy for 14 years to pay for his 2 wives. So then it said in verse 27, it said, please don't leave me, Laban replied, for I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because you are here. How much do you want? How much do I owe you? Whatever it is, I will pay. Now, this is a situation where I'm going to read the King James, because they said that I've learned by divination, make it seem like he went out and read some tarot cards or did some scene of psychic or something like that. And that's not exactly what it says in King James. I don't know why they interpret it like that, but the King James Version says, and Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. So in other words, he knew because of the way the Lord had blessed Jacob, he can tell that God's grace was on Jacob. And he realized that everything he had been blessed because Jacob had been with him. You know what I'm saying? So he realized that he was being blessed because Jacob was blessed. And what was the promise that the Lord made to Abraham and Isaac? He said, I will bless those that bless thee. I will curse those that curse thee. So since Laban initially came in and blessed Jacob and gave him a place to stay, gave him stability, gave him wives, allowed him to work for him, to build a living, he can tell, he was blessed. So he can tell he was blessed, and that's why he didn't want him to go. It wasn't that, oh, your family I don't want you to leave, I love you so much. It was because I know I'm getting these blessings because of your blessed, because you're blessed. So number 15 is this. Again, when dealing with family, if you let them, family will try to use your blessings for their own benefit. And that's why he wanted them to stay. Again, not because he loved them so much and all that. He wanted them to stay. And we're gonna see this as the story progresses. We're gonna see it wasn't because out of the love or the kindness of the heart. He wanted him to stay because he knew that as long as he stayed that he would be blessed. And again, family would do that to you. They'll do that. They'll try to use your blessings for their own benefit. You see how many times you've seen celebrities and people that became, celebrities and got famous and whatnot, got rich, and then they end up, losing all their money or giving all their money away to family because they just, their family drained them dry. You know what I'm saying? The family would do that to you. So again, you have to be careful. If you let them, they'll use your blessings for their own benefit. And not because they got your best interest at heart, but because they got their own best interest at heart. And you got to be careful there. And that's what he's doing here. He said, I have learned, like again, the King James Version said, I've learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for thy sake. So won't you stay here with me so I can keep getting blessed? Well, forget about you getting blessed on your own. Stay here with me so I can get blessed. So see, family would do that to you. It make it sound sweet. Oh, just go ahead and stay here. I'll pay you a little bit. But in reality, it wasn't for Jacob's benefit. It was for his own benefit. And family would do that to you. And that's why I say you got to watch your family as well as your enemies. And then verse 29 said, Jacob replied, well, you know how faithfully I have served you through these many years and how your flocks and herds have grown. You had little indeed before I came, and your wealth has increased enormously. The Lord had blessed you from everything I do. But now, what about me? When should I provide for my own family? And again, right there, the King James, he says that the Lord has blessed me for everything I do. And the King James Version, he said, hold on, I lost my spot right here. And the King James Version, he said, the Lord have blessed thee since my coming. So it ain't like, what I'm saying, he ain't saying that the way they made it sound like he meant arrogant. Everything I do, I'm blessed. No, he said, since I've been here, the Lord has blessed me, blessed you. And again, because he know of the promise that was made. The promise was, if I will bless thee, that bless you. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying, look, since I've come here, the Lord has blessed you, and you can see that. He said, but now, what about me? When should I provide for my own family? Because you got to understand, for these 14 years, everything Jacob's been doing has been for the benefit of Laban. He don't have anything for himself yet. All he has is his 2 wives and all his kids, which is a lot. but still he don't have no way to provide for them because he's been working for this man, and he's been using basically his blessings to build up this other man's wealth, and that's what he's asking them. What about me? So number 16 is this: if you're not careful, again, when dealing with family, if you're not careful, family will hold you back. Because Jacob was on the leave, so now he like, look, I worked 14 years for you. I built up your wealth. I know the Lord is blessing me, so I know wherever I'm going to go, you know what I'm saying, the Lord is going to give me wealth. So let me go and do something of my own. Let me go and do something so I can build me some wealth like I've done for you for these last 14. You know, but what Laban trying to do? He's trying to hold him back. No, don't leave. Stay with me. You know what I'm saying? I'll pay you a little bit. But you got to think about it. If he stayed there for Laban and get paid by Laban, then he's still not making as much as he could be making if he was working by himself. And see, family be like, oh man, we family. Again, blood thicker than water. Why don't you go and stay for me? You know, family. Why would you want to leave your family? And they'll use that family bond, that blood bond, use it against you to get you to do something that's not beneficial for you. It might be beneficial for them, but it's not beneficial for you. So once again, that's what I'm saying. You got to have wisdom and discernment when you're dealing with your family. And Jacob's going to have that, because watch what he's going to say. We're going to see why it's important to have that wisdom, because Jacob has the Lord with him. And we're going to see that he has the Lord with him by his action. So in verse 31, he says, Laban asked, he said, what wages do you want? Laban asked again. So once again, he's like, let's make another contract. You worked for me for the 14 years. You finished up your contract for then. Let's make another one. So then Jacob replied, don't give me anything at all. Just do one thing. I'll go back to work for you. I'll go back to work for you. Let me go out among your flocks today and remove all the sheep and goats that are speckled or spotted, along with all the dark colored sheep. Give them to me as my wages. This will make it easy for you to see whether or not I have been honest. If you find in my flock any white sheep or goats that are not speckled, you would know that I have stolen them from you. So you see what he did there? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about with using that wisdom and discretion with dealing with family. Because again, he already know from their first contract that Laban is not going to be completely honest with him, because he wanted to work 7 years for Rachel, and he ended up having to work 14 years to get Rachel and Leah, who he didn't really want. So he knew if he was going to go into another contract, he had a possibility of being screwed over. So you see, he learned. You know what I'm saying? He had the wisdom to know, like, okay, he can probably screw me over, so I'm going to put it in a situation where he can't screw me over. So number 17 is this, and we got to do what Jacob did. This is what I'm talking about, where I'm saying using the discretion for dealing with family. For number 17 is this: when dealing with family, it's very important that you establish standards, ground rules, and agreements up front. This can help you from having any confrontations with your family. And that's what Jacob did right there. He established some ground rules, like, look, you know what I'm saying? You're going to get all the solid color, you know, because there was, you know, supposedly the best ones, you know, the purest ones, no spots, no speckles or anything like that. And the spot speckles was supposed to be like the weaker one. They just want to look, they want as valuable as like a pure white than a white with like a couple of rings and speckles in it. So you're like, look, I'll take all the less valuable ones, and you can keep all the pure colored ones, and that way we can tell our flocks apart. So he set up some ground rules, some standards. You know what I'm saying? He established some standards up front. Like, this is what we're going to do up front. And that way, you can't come and say, I stole anything from you, and I can't say you stole anything from me. Because we can look at our flocks and we can tell. If I got any that's solid white or solid black or whatever the color is, then you'll know I stole from you. But if everything got no speckled and the speckled and streaks on it, then you know that I got what I honestly earned. So you see what he did there? Doing that can take a lot of contention out of dealing with family. Like I said earlier, yes, it's not always easy to work with family. Family and business don't always mix. But if you can establish some stuff up front, let them know up front, this is what I expect from you. Because a lot of the families skirmishes I've seen, especially when get into like business deals and things like that, a lot of time I've seen that is because it wasn't no ground rules set up front. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was thinking, well, I'm assuming that he expect this and this and that, and I'm assuming that he's going to do this and this and that, and then when it don't work out, it's like, what happened? Well, you didn't establish that up front. So when dealing with family, it's very important that lay down some ground rules. You know what I'm saying? This, like I said, this is a positive one, and it's giving you something to do, something that you need to do when you're dealing with your family. When you're dealing with family, especially when you're dealing with them in a business sense, make sure you establish standards, ground rules and agreements up front. Make sure you establish that up front, and that way it can keep you from having confrontation and contention with your family, because everything should be out in the open from the get-go. That way you don't have to assume anything, and they don't have to assume anything. You can both be on the same page. You need to make sure that if you're going to deal with family, that keep down from having the drama and keep from having the confrontation and contentions. Make sure you establish up front what you expect. Y'all lay everything out, lay all the ground rules out, so it shouldn't be no gray areas, no questions, no what ifs. You know what I'm saying? Do it up front, and that way it'll save you from having the contentions. You know what I'm saying? It'll save you from the problem, and it'll save you from running the drama later on down the road. That's if it's real family and they can be trusted, and that's the key. You got to make sure it's real family that can be trusted, because watch what happened. So he laid down, he applied some wisdom here. He applied some discretion here. He established some standards. He laid down the ground rule. This is the agreement. This is what I'm going to do. This way you can see what I got. You know what I'm saying? You can know that I'm not messing with your stuff. You're not messing with mine. So that was smart. But watch what Laban do. He said, all right, Laban replied, it would be as you have said. But watch this. But that very day, Laban went out and removed all the male goats that were speckled and spotted, the females that were speckled and spotted with any white patches, and all the dark-colored sheep. He placed them in the care of his sons, and they took them 3 days' distance from where Jacob was. And meanwhile, Jacob stayed and cared for Laban's flock. So what happened? See, he did it up front. He got it established, but then you go back to number 6. What did I say? Refer back to number 6. Number 6 was this. Just because they are family don't mean they can be trusted. See what I'm saying? This is his family, this is his uncle. You know what I'm saying? And they just made this agreement. They made this establishment. I'm going to have all the speckled ones and the dark colored ones, and you can get all these. And you know what I'm saying? That should be fair. And Laban agreed. His own uncle agreed. But yet soon as he got a chance, he screwed him over again. So again, you got to watch out with family. Family will take advantage of you, you let them. But see, Jacob, again, he's using the wisdom. The wisdom I'm giving y'all tonight, he was using it. He saw it. So he had something to protect himself. One, he had God with him, but then he had enough wisdom to protect himself. And he did this. And I don't understand, again, this is one of the weird sections that I was telling about. I don't understand how this worked, but he came up with this system that worked out that it still helped him increase his flock, even though his uncle was trying to mess him over. So in verse 37 it said, now Jacob took fresh shoots from poplar, almond, and plane trees and peeled off strips of bark to make white streaks on them. Then he set up these peeled branches beside the watering throws, so Laban's flock would see them as they came to drink, for that was when they mated. So when the flocks mated in front of the white streaked branches, all of their offspring was streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob added them to his own flock, thus separating the lambs from Laban's flock. Then at mating time, he turned the flocks toward the streaked and dark-colored rams in Laban's flock. This is how he built his flock from Laban's. So whenever the stronger females were ready to mate, Jacob set up the peeled branches in front of them. But he didn't do this with the weaker ones, so the weaker lambs belonged to Laban, and the stronger ones were Jacob's. So you see what we got going on here? Family screwing. So I don't know how this system works. I don't know if this is some God. I don't really get tell you the specifics of how this thing worked by him putting these certain branches in front of it made them produce the way they did. You know, it had to be a blessing from God. But still, you know what I'm saying? What did he do? He did it. He did it in a way where it says Jacob didn't do this with the weaker ones. So the weaker lambs belonged to Laban, and the stronger ones were Jacob. So again, so he got his uncle messing him over, and he's messing his uncle back over. Again, this is family here. You know what I'm saying? It should be a bond. According to the statement, blood is thicker than water, there should be a bond. There should be a trust there. You shouldn't have to worry about your family, but you do. And that's what I want y'all to understand. We get so caught up in the nostalgia of what we used to do, how it used to be when we were kids or when we hung out back in the day. But you got to realize people change, things change, situations change, and you got to see if that's the same person that was there for you when you was younger. If is that the same person today? Because they might have been through some things that's taking them in a different direction, and they're not the same people that they used to be when you knew them at the beginning. So you got to make sure you have enough wisdom to see that. Or they're going to end up messing you over, or you're going to end up messing them over. And that's what we got here. We got these two relatives messing each other over. They supposed to be family, but yet they fighting and basically stealing from each other. So then it says, now as a result, because of Jacob did this little thing with the shoots. Again, I don't know how that worked out. I don't know if God told him to do that or what. But it said, as a result, Jacob's flock increased rapidly, and he became very wealthy with many servants, camels, and donkeys. So again, you know what I'm saying, about what? Basically messing his family over, but he was doing it in retaliation to what his uncle was doing with him. So how can you say, I mean, this is right, who's the one that's wrong? But at the same time, they say that they got that saying, well, two wrongs don't make a right. So really, they're both in the wrong. Their family, Laban should have honored his contract, and Jacob shouldn't have to do these things that he's doing to get his flock up. But they're having to do that because it's family. You know what I'm saying? There's no trust in his family. Just because they're family by blood don't mean they're family by heart. And there's no trust there. And they're having to screw each other over to get ahead. And so many times that happens in family. Family will screw each other over just to get ahead. You know, now we're in chapter 31. About to finish up, got chapter 31. So we see how this all comes to a head, so to speak. So in verse 31, chapter 31, verse 1 says, now, but Jacob soon learned that Laban's sons were beginning to grumble. Jacob has robbed our father, they said. All his wealth has been gained at our father's expense. And Jacob began to notice a considerable cooling in Laban's attitude toward him. So number 18 is this. Sometimes family will feel entitled, and I said this earlier, and I got a little bit ahead of myself, but sometimes family will feel entitled to your success, though you were the one that put in the work to achieve it. So again, you know, they feel entitled, and they saying, well, you know, he got wealth at our father's expense. No, he didn't. He's just, your father the one made the contract. Your father's the one that made the agreement. And that's why, again, you have to be careful with dealing with family. Especially if you end up being successful. They'll try to take something they did for you a long time ago. You remember that one time when you was a kid and I made you a sandwich and you was starving, and that sandwich probably kept you from dying. So, you know, you shouldn't send me $1 million every now and again. You got it. You see what I'm saying? Family do that. They feel because they did something to you back in the day or they helped you along the way, sometimes they feel entitled to the blessing that you work for. You know what I'm saying? Like me, like if you need it, I can help you out with it, but I'm not just going to give it to you, give you what I work for, and then I end up broke myself. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of family do that. And again, you see that happens a lot with, like, you know, these NFL guys and NBA guys and these rap stars. That's why they go broke, because they got people saying, oh, you remember when we did this? You know, we was kids and I did this for you. You know what I'm saying? And they feel entitled because they helped you along the way at some point, that you owe them. When really they were supposed to be helping you along the way. It's supposed to be because we family. You was trying to help me get to where I need to be. It wasn't so I just can pay you back later on. But see, real family don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I would hope that you would show me some love if you do get ahead and I'm still, you know, struggling through life or whatever. I would hope you would be, you know, real enough family to get ahead. But I'm not gonna come to you like, oh man, you remember I did this for you, then, you know, you should do this for me kind of thing. No. But family would do that, and that's what they were doing. They feel entitled. They feel that Jacob got rich off their dad, but really Jacob put in the work. It ain't like his dad just gave him that, and all of a sudden he went out and just started, you know, getting all these getting all these rams and increasing his flock. No, he worked for it. He got what he worked for. He put in the work for that, but yet his dad, his uncle, feels entitled that he should have it, and he said there's a considerable cooling. So he started treating them different. He started acting funny toward them. You know what I'm saying? Started acting funny toward them because they was upset that he felt like, you know what I'm saying, he was being more successful than they was being. You see what I'm saying? That's what family would do. They would get jealous at you and they would get upset because of your success, when in reality you the one put in the work to get to where you was at. They should be happy for you and supporting you, but instead they get jealous of you because of your success. So then in verse 3 said, now then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your father and grandfather and to your relatives there, and I will be with you. So number 19 is this. Sometime the Lord will separate you from your family. Sometime he will, for your own benefit. The Lord, for your own benefit, he will separate you from your family. So be sure to follow where he leads you so you can enjoy his grace. And that's what he told him. It's time for you to go back. You know what I'm saying? This ain't looking good. You know what I'm saying? I can see he's cooling off. He's treating you different. I can see he's messing you over. So you know what? It's time for you to separate. And that happens at times. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I love my family. But I knew when I left, when I graduated high school, I had to leave Memphis. I can't explain to y'all why. Well, I know why. It was the Holy Spirit. You know, God guided me where I need to be at. But I knew that I had to get out. I had to get out of Memphis. I couldn't stay there because I knew that if I stayed there, I wouldn't have got to where I need to be. You know what I'm saying? I thank God that I followed. So you got to understand, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I know me and my brother, y'all know I adopted my older brother as well. And, and we had stayed together for about 3-4 years. And then I started having kids, and then he started having kids. And I loved him to death, and it wasn't no love lost, but it came to a point where we had to separate. We just, he was going down a different path. I was going down a different path. And it wasn't working out with the living arrangement, and we had to separate. And I hated that. And I remember, I never forget this, and I don't think I ever told him that. And I can tell that we need to separate. I can tell things weren't getting good, and I can tell that we didn't separate, it wasn't going to end well. But I didn't know how to separate from my brother because I loved him so much. I wanted to be there with him, and I had always been there been there for him his whole life. And I knew he still wasn't fully mature just yet. But at the same time, God was showing me that, hey, you need to separate. But I couldn't do it. So I prayed to the Lord. Lord, I don't know what to do. I know what I need to do, and I just don't think I have the strength to do it. I'm going to need you to show me what I need to do or make the situation go out, because I just can't see myself leaving my brother. And then some stuff happened to where he wasn't paying his rent, and then I wasn't working and making as much as I was making at first, to where I couldn't pay the rent, and we end up having to separate. We end up getting kicked out of our apartment. And at the time, I was so broke, because I think at the time, I was only working at like Sonic Drive-In or something. I was working at a Sonic restaurant, flipping burgers at the time. And, and I had 3 kids, and of course my wife to take care of as well. So I wasn't in a position to go get another place at the time. So the only place I can find was my wife's sister, Francesca. She just happened to have this big, huge house out in North Nashville. And it was huge, and it was just her and like her couple of kids and her mom staying there. And it was a huge house. And she's like, well, y'all come stay with us. And of course, when me going to stay with somebody else, I couldn't bring my brother along, so we had to separate. So the Lord put me in the situation where we had to separate, where I couldn't do nothing about it. But had he not, I probably stayed there and stayed in that situation, and things wouldn't have went the way they were supposed to go. But I put it in God's hand, and he finally separated us. But, I saw this, I knew we need separated, but I put it in the Lord to do it. But sometimes he'll show us that, and we'll see we need to separate from certain family members or certain people in our lives, and we'll still try to stick in there. Try to be loyal when they're not being loyal to us, or when it's not going to be beneficial for us to stay with those people. And again, you got to have the wisdom and the discernment to be able to see that. And that's like I said, I saw it, but I didn't have the power to do it. But I did put it in the Lord's hand, and because I put it in the Lord's hand, he separated us, and he actually did. He went out on his own, and found him a roommate, and he did good. He started living his life and having his family, and I started raising mine fully, raising mine, because I couldn't put as time and energy into mine as I needed to, as long as I was around worried about him and the things that he was doing, which he wasn't doing things. He was doing a lot of things he wasn't supposed to be doing. And I was so busy worrying about him, I wasn't focusing on my own family. And like I said, I was seeing that, but I didn't want to let him go because he was family. So that's why I say you got to be careful with that. I got caught up in there myself, and that's why when I was going through this lesson, I figured, this would be a good lesson to do, because we all do that. We feel because we got that blood bond, the same genetics, that we have to be loyal. But if they're not, helping your cause, they're hurting your cause, and you got to be able to separate from that. And when the Lord tells you it's time to separate, you need to do it so His grace will be on you. And that's what He did with Jacob. You can tell that it was time for him to go. And he said, again, the Lord said, return to the land of your father and your grandfather and your relatives there, and I will be with you. So then in verse 4 it says, Jacob called Rachel and Leah out to the field where he was watching the flocks, so he could talk things over with them. Your father has turned against me and has not treated me like he used to, he said. He told them, but the God of my father has been with me. So number 20 is this. Again, make sure you keep God first, because though family may let you down, God never will. And we're going to see that's what Jacob did. He kept God first, and that's how he was blessed. He kept God first, so even though his uncle was trying to mess him over with his wages, he still ended up being wealthy because he kept God first. So number 20 is, when you're dealing with family, even though your family may let you down, if you keep God first, God will never let you down. And that's why it's so important to really live Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and the rest of these things shall be added. And that's what Jacob did. He kept God first, and even told his wife, he said, the God of my father has been with me. Because he stayed faithful to God even though he was away. Because you remember when he was on his way to Padan he prayed to God and said, hey, you get me there and back home safely, I'll make sure I worship you. And he did. He put God first, and God blessed him. So make sure, especially when you're dealing with family, you keep God first, and God will bless you. Even though the family will let you down, the Lord never will. So he said, you know how hard I have worked for your father, but he has tricked me, breaking his wage agreement with me again and again. But God has not allowed him to do me any harm. Why? Because he put God first. So he just kept doing what he was doing, kept praising the Lord, and the Lord blessed him through the situation. He saw his plight, him dealing with his family, he saw the plight he was in, but yet he still rescued him out of it. Then he says, for if he had said the speckled animals were mine, the whole flock began to produce speckled lambs. And when he changed his mind and said I could have the streaked ones, then all the lambs were born streaked. In this way, God has made me wealthy at your father's expense. So once again, be sure when you're struggling with your family, you remember to put it in God's hand. That was number 14. Make sure you put it in God's hand. And then also in number 9, we're going to refer back to number 9, where it said the Lord sees your plight when dealing with family as well as your enemies. So again, these concepts can keep coming up, and that's exactly what Jacob did. You know, so he believed in this, and he put God first, and the Lord blessed him out of this situation. Even though he was in this struggle with his uncle was trying to mess him over, the Lord wouldn't let him because he kept God first. So then it said, during mating season, I had a dream, and I saw that the male goats with the flock were streaked, speckled, and spotted. Then in my dream, the angel of God said to me, Jacob, and I replied, yes, I'm listening. The angel said, look, and you will see that only the streaked, speckled, and spotted males are mating with the females of your flock. For I have seen all that Laban has done to you. So once again, the Lord saw him when he was in the plot. He saw what was being done to him, and because Jacob kept him first, he protected him. He said, I am the God you met at Bethel, the place where you anointed the pillar of stone and made a vow to serve me. Now leave this country and return to the land you came from. So once again, number 20, be sure to keep God first, because though family may let you down, he never will. And because he kept God first, the Lord saw what he was going through. He saw he was struggling with his family. He saw what his family was trying to do to him, and he blessed him anyway because he kept him first, because he vowed to serve him. So then in verse 14, Rachel and Leah said, that's fine with us. There's nothing for us here. None of our father's wealth will come to us anyway. He has reduced our rights to those of foreign women. He sold us, and what he received has disappeared. The riches God has given you from our father are legally ours and our children to begin with. So go ahead and do whatever God has told you. So number 21, this is essential, and this is another good one. This is another good one. A real family would be on the same page with you and would encourage you in whatever you need to do to be successful, especially when dealing with the things of God. That's what a real family would do. They won't get jealous of the time you spend with God. They won't get jealous because you spend, like I have that, and I thank God I have that for my family. I try to do my best to spend time with my family. I try to do my best to balance my ministry and my family. But at the same time, my family know my work with God comes first. I love them to death. But what did Jesus say? If you put anything before me in family or anything before me, then you're not worth to follow me. So they know it comes first, but they respect it. And they always, my wife, she know when I'm preaching or on somewhere talking to somebody about God. She knows what I'm doing. She don't get jealous. I don't hear, oh, you always somewhere talking about people, God, you don't spend the time. I don't have to hear that, because my family, I have a real family, and they support me in all they do. They support me and they push me forward so I can be successful in God's work. And that's important. And now I say real family will do that. Real family will understand your situation. Real family will understand where you're trying to go, and they will help you get there. They won't nag you or do anything to hold you back or pull you down. They'll do things to push you forward, especially when it's of God. And that's what his wives did. They showed you that they're really family. Now, him and his wife, they were truly family, because what did they say? Said, the riches God has given you from our father are legally ours and our children to begin with. So go ahead and do whatever God has told you. So they encouraged him. They could have made it hard for him. Like, oh no, we ain't going nowhere. We're not leaving our dad. And I can't believe that. They didn't do it. No, they were like, if this is what God tells you to do, then go ahead and do it. We're behind you 100%. That's what real family does. That's what real family does. Real family will push you. Now, of course, they become his real family through marriage, but he was actually blood related to Laban. So which one was closer to family to him? His wives. You know why? Because they supported him. They knew that what he was doing was God told him to do. He was doing the work God told him to do. He was going to places God told him to go, and they supported him, and they didn't make it hard for him. They made it easier for him by agreeing with him. And again, that's what real family does. They don't hold you back. They don't try to sway you from doing what you're supposed to be doing, especially if it's of God. They're going to do what they can to support you so you can be successful in your work. So then in verse 17 it says, so Jacob put his wives and children on camels. He drove the flocks in front of them, all the livestock he had acquired at Pandan Aram, and set out on his journey to the land of Canaan, where his father Isaac lived. Now at the time they left, Laban was some distance away, shearing his sheep. Rachel stole her father's household gods and took them with her. That set out secretly and never told Laban they were leaving. So again, you see the conniving that's going on. You know what I'm saying? This is essentially this man and his grandkids leaving. You know what I'm saying? So all the conniving they're having to do because they got all this family contention. Because things they weren't honest with each other. They weren't upfront with each other. And they both were kind of backbiting each other. So now he got to pretty much sneak out of the country to get away from his own uncle, his own family. You see what I'm saying? So then the next verse said, now Jacob took all his possessions with him and crossed the Euphrates River, heading for the territory of Gilead. Again, snuck off while his uncle was away. When he snuck off, he couldn't go. He was in such contention with him that he couldn't even go talk to him and tell him, hey, we need to go ahead and head out. He had to sneak off because they had become, over this time, even though they were family, even though they were blood related, they had become more of enemies than they had family. And again, that will happen. That's why you have to be careful when dealing with family. So then in verse 22, it said, Laban didn't even learn of their flight for 3 days. But when he did, he gathered a group of his relatives and set out in hot pursuit. He caught up with them 7 days later in the hill country of Gilead. But the previous night, God had appeared to Laban in a dream. Be careful about what you say to Jacob, he was told. Now, again, right there, I want to read the King James Version because I just like the way it worded, the wording on the King James a little bit better. He said, God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said to him, take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. So he told, be careful what you say. Don't go talk bad to him. Don't be careful what you say because he's mine, basically. So once again, we see we refer back to number 14 again. No, I say for the rest, I'm going to refer back to the other one because it's going to keep coming up. Be sure when you're struggling with your family that you remember to put it in God's hand. And that was number 14. That's what Jacob did. And you see, God took care of all of it. God took care of all of it because he put in God's hand. And God told him, Laban was probably going to go back with weapons, make him go back home, take his daughters back. But the Lord showed up, said, hey, you better be careful what you say. This is my boy here. Be careful. He's serving me. You be careful what you say to him. So then in verse 25, it says, so when Laban caught up with Jacob, as he was camped in the hill country of Gilead, he set up his camp not far from Jacob's. What do you mean by sneaking out like this? Laban demanded. Are my daughters prisoners, the plunder of war that you have stolen away like this? Why did you slip away secretly? I will have given you a farewell party with joyful singing accompanied by tambourines and harps. Why didn't you let me kiss my daughters and grandchildren and tell them goodbye? Goodbye. You have acted very foolishly. Number 22 is this. Now, of course, we know the whole story. We know most likely that's what he's going to do. He's saying that to save face, but he wasn't going to do that. So number 22 is this. Again, this is what dealing with family. Family will try to make you feel bad for doing something they force you to do. They'll put the responsibility on you instead of owning up to it themselves. So what he say? Why you acted foolishly? Why you sneak out like that? The reason why he snuck out like that because Jacob knew there's the only way he can get free. He knew that the guy wasn't going to let him go because what was the other point? That he was using him for his blessings. That's why he wanted him to stay. He didn't want to stay because of the kind of his heart. He wanted him to stay because he knew as long as he stayed there, he was going to be blessed because the Lord was blessing Jacob. So that's why he did like that. So instead of him owning up, because again, and Jacob going to get on him about it. Jacob going to kind of tell him about himself. And he's going to tell him how he screwed him over. And that's why he left the way. But family will do that. They'll try to make you feel bad for doing something that they forced you into the situation where you had to do it. They try to make you feel bad about it when really you was trying to be the one to try to be up front in the beginning and they the one that screwed you over. So then he told him, you have acted very foolishly. I could destroy you. He said, but the God of your father appeared to me last night and told me, be careful about what you say to Jacob. Why? Because, see, Jacob had already put it in God's hand. Jacob had already put it in God's hand, and that's how he's like, man, I put it in God's hand. I'm just going to leave and just get out of this place before anything else happened. He put it in God's hand, and God protected him. So then in verse 30 said, I know you feel you must go, and you long intensely for your childhood home, but why have you stolen my household gods? So he tried to change the subject and try to make it seem like, oh, well, we only came to pursue you because you had stole this thing from me. You stole my household god, which, of course, Rachel did do. And that's a whole nother story in itself that she shouldn't have did that. But, you know what I'm saying? But still, you notice he hadn't acknowledged the fact of the things that he's done, the reason why Jacob felt he had to leave, the reason why he's left the country the way he did. He still hadn't acknowledged that just yet. Instead of owning up to what he did, he's still trying to put the blame on Jacob and come up with these lame excuses as the reason why he came at him like that. So then in verse 31, it says, now I rushed away because I was afraid, Jacob answered. I said to myself, he'll take his daughters from me by force. So number 23 is this. And again, this is one of those sometimes, and not always, but sometimes family are the main ones you have to be afraid of. Family is the main ones you have to be afraid of. You remember when Jesus was talking, and he was talking about the end times, and he was telling people what was going to happen in the end times. And one of the statements he made, he says, a man's enemies is going to be in his own house. See, who lives in your house with you? Unless you're like a college student, you got all kind of roommates. But most 9 times out of 10, who lives in your house with you? Family. You know what I'm saying? That's what the situation Jacob was in, he was afraid of his own family. That's why he had to sneak away. Because his family, he knew how the man was. They'd been living together for almost 20 years, and he knew how conniving he was. He knew how sneaky he was, how he had been backbiting them and switching on them all these years, and that's why he just wanted to go and get away from it. He was afraid of his own family, and that happens. You know what I'm saying? We have our own family members that, again, people we're supposed to love, the people that's supposed to support us, the people that's supposed to be there for us, and be the main ones that you have to watch out for. Them be the main ones you're afraid of. And that happens so much in this world, especially in an abusive situation. It'll be your own family, the ones that you are more afraid of than some stranger out on the street. And that's what happened here with Jacob. He was afraid of him. He told him, I was afraid you're going to come and take my kids from me. Take your daughters from me. Then he says, but as for your household gods, let the person who has taken them die. If you find anything that belongs to you, I swear before all these relatives of ours, I will give it back without question. But Jacob didn't know that Rachel had taken him, which he did know, which she shouldn't have. She shouldn't have taken him, but you got to understand, the land she was from, they worship. They didn't. That's why the Lord told him to go back to his land with his people, because they didn't worship the Jehovah God. They worship many gods. They worship idols. And so she was just doing what she had been brought up to do. And of course, I don't think she did it. No, there was no malice there. But still, it's his own daughter stole away his household god. That's a big thing because your gods and they actually viewed that as sacred and things like that. So for his own daughter to steal his gods like that, again, that's another thing. Family messing family over. So then he says, Laban. So Laban, after he said, they said Jacob didn't know that Rachel had taken him. So then it said Laban went first into Jacob's tent to search there, then into Leah's, and then he searched the tents of the 2 concubines. But he didn't find the gods. Finally, he went into Rachel's tent. Rachel had taken the household gods and had stuffed them into her camel saddle, and now she was sitting on them. So although Laban searched all the tents, he couldn't find them. Forgive my not getting up, Father, Rachel explained. I'm having my monthly period. So despite his thorough search, Laban didn't find them. So she used her womanly period to hide the fact that she had stolen God. So again, deceiving family. This is her own dad that she's deceiving. Again, this is something that shouldn't be going on if you're truly family. You shouldn't have to do things like that, but they are because they're not truly family. Just because they're blood don't mean they're truly family. They're not really supporting each other. They're not really there for each other. Instead, they're messing each other over. They're being sneaky. They're going behind each other's back and doing all these crazy things right here what they shouldn't be doing because they're family. So then in verse 13, it said, then Laban became very angry. Jacob became very angry. And so after Laban searched, he didn't find anything. Of course, Jacob got angry. And now Jacob going to tell him a little bit about himself. He said, then Jacob became very angry. What did you find? He demanded of Laban. What is my crime? You have chased me as though I were a criminal. And number 24 is this. Sometimes family will be the one to treat you worse than a stranger will. And that's what he's saying here. You treat me like I'm a criminal. You supposed to be my family. You rolling up on me, and I'm pretty sure we came up. It wasn't all nice, like, hey guys, where you going? I'm pretty sure it was hostile. They probably rolled up. He grabbed his other family members to come, so they probably had weapons, and it was, I'm pretty sure, some anger there, probably some words exchanged. And that's what Jacob said. You treat me like a criminal. You came through chasing me down like a criminal. And again, they supposed to be family. And again, so family, sometimes they will treat you worse than strangers will. So he said, you have searched through everything I own. Now show me what you have found that belongs to you. Set it out here in front of us before our relatives for all to see. Let them decide who is the real owner. And then he gets on them. He has some words for him. He said, 20 years I have been with you, and all that time I care for your sheep and goats so they produce healthy offspring. In all those years, I never touched a single ram of yours for food. If any were attacked and killed by wild animals, did I show them to you and ask you to reduce the amount of your flock? No, I took the loss. So number 25 is this. Again, this is just a warning when dealing with family. If you're going to do business with family, I already told you earlier, family and business don't always mix. But if you're going to do dealing with family, business dealing with family, be prepared to take a loss. When dealing with family, be prepared to take a loss. And that's what happened here with Jacob. He was dealing with family. He knew how Laban was. He knew how that he wasn't going to, he knew that he wasn't going to take responsibility for. So Jacob took all these losses. He said, no, I was the one that took the loss. When anything came up missing, I took the loss. He said, you made me pay for every animal stolen from your flocks, whether the loss was my fault or not. I worked for you through the scorching heat of the day and through cold and sleepless nights. Yes, 20 years, 14 of them earning your daughters, and 6 to get the flock. And you have reduced my wages 10 times. So what is it? Go back to number 7. So again, knowing the concepts that we talked about earlier. Number 7. Well, number 7. If you don't watch them, family will be the first one to take advantage of your situation. And that's what he did. He said, I've done all this stuff for you, and even though I was working my butt off for you, you were still reducing my wages. See, that's family taking advantage of the situation. That's why I say family and business don't mix. And he said, and check this line, I said, in fact, except for the grace of God, the God of my grandfather Abraham, the awe-inspiring God of my father Isaac, you would have sent me off without a penny to my name. But God has seen your cruelty and my hard work, and that is why he appeared to you last night and vindicated me. So once again, what was the thing that kept him stable, the thing that kept him going, the thing that kept him protected? It was because he put God as first. Because before he got the Pandana realm, he told God that he was going to serve him. And so to make sure that when you're dealing with family, you put things in God's hands. Even when you're dealing with family, a lot of us, we like I said, we're easy to put it in God's hand when we're dealing with our enemies, or we're dealing with strangers, or we're dealing with certain situations. But we got to put it in our hands when we're dealing with our family as well. And ask God, that's something I do all the time. I ask God to give me the meekness to deal with my family. I ask God to give me the meekness to deal with my kids. I ask God to bless me in all that I do, especially when dealing with my family, and giving me the wisdom and discretion I need to make the right decisions. Because again, when it comes to family, we always have a soft spot. We always have a soft spot for family, and sometimes family will take advantage of that situation, and that's what Laban did here to Jacob. So last paragraph, y'all, got one more point, and then I'm going to finish the story out. It says, then Laban replied to Jacob, these women are my daughters, and these children are my grandchildren, and these flocks and all that you have are mine. So once again, now remember, Jacob earned these things. So how is he saying they're his? So once again, he feel entitled because he helped him out a little bit, gave him a start, that he feel entitled to all that he has, and that's not true. This is what they agreed upon. Jacob earned these things by the work that he put in. So then he says, but what can I do now to my own daughters and grandchildren? Come now, and we will make a peace treaty, and you and I will live by its terms. So number 26 is the last point. Then I'm going to finish the story out, show you how it all ended. Number 26 is this. Sometimes it's just best to make peace with family and go your own separate ways. When you're always having this contention, when you're always getting into it with each other, when every time you get around each other, it seems like a fight, sometimes it's better to be the bigger person, make peace, and then just, go your separate ways. I see you, it's the holidays, I speak to you still, here for you if you need me, but it's best that we just separate and go our separate ways. You know what I'm saying? Like the Journey song, go our separate ways. And it's sometimes just best to do that. And that's what they're going to end up doing, and that's how everything's going to be squashed. So in verse 45 it says, so Jacob took a stone and set it up as a monument. He also told his men to gather stones and pile them up in a heap. Jacob and Laban then sat down beside the pile of stones to share a meal. They named it the witness pile, which is Jegar Shahadath in Laban's language and Gilead in Jacob's. This pile of stones will stand as a witness to remind us of our agreement, Laban said. This place was also called Mizpah, for Laban said, may the Lord keep watch between us to make sure that we keep this treaty when we are out of each other's sight. So once again, what we talked about earlier? When dealing with family, you got to get God involved. Even though it's family and you feel there should be trust there and should be no issue, still get God involved so you have wisdom as you deal with the situation. Then he said, I won't, he said in verse 50, I won't know about it if you are harsh to my daughters or if you take other wives, but God will see it. So again, they bring God into it. He said, this heap of stones and this pillar stand between us as witnesses of our vows. I will not cross this line to harm you, and you will not cross it to harm me. I will call on the God of our ancestors, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of my grandfather Nahor, to punish either one of us who harms each other. So once again, that's how you do it. They're just making peace. They're getting God involved. They're going to make peace, and then they're going to go their separate ways. That's the best way to deal with family. Now, that way you don't have no animosity. You know what I'm saying? You might not love each other as much as you did in the beginning, but it'll keep you from having that contention with each other. So then it says, so Jacob took an oath before the awesome God of his father Isaac to respect the boundary line. So once again, they got God involved. It said, then Jacob presented a sacrifice to God and invited everyone to a feast. Afterward, they spent the night there in the hills. Laban got up early the next morning, and he kissed his daughters and grandchildren and blessed them, and then he returned home. So that's how they finally ended the situation. That's the best way with this, and that's why I won't go all the way through the story. I know it was a long story, 3 chapters, and I tried to make it as short as possible, but that was the best way. That's the best way of dealing with it. Sometimes with family, when you got family, people that's constantly messed you over, people that constantly did you wrong, and you know that sometimes you just got to be the bigger person, you know, because if not, you see what they were doing at first, they just going back and forth, going back and forth, going back and forth, and finally one that just had to be the bigger person, make peace, you know what I'm saying, it is what it is, they made peace, and then they went their separate ways, and that's the best thing to do, to make peace and go your separate ways. You know, and that's the best thing to do. That way you don't lose the love you have for each other. And you know what I'm saying, sometime down the line, after everything cooled down, you might come back together and have the same love for each other that you used to have. But we got to get off the nostalgia of the love we used to have and how we used to be when we were kids. We got to get away from that. And you know what I'm saying, look at people now. Because like I said, over time, people change. Things change. Situations change. So you got to make sure that same love that you had when y'all was kids, when y'all were younger, is the same person, that same love you have is the same thing those at the current time now. And the only way you're going to do that, you got to get God involved. And that's what they did. They got God involved. And when they got God involved, God took over their whole situation. And then toward the end, they finally just made peace with everything. And they went their separate ways. And that way, they were still family. They still had love for each other. But I guarantee you, they ain't going to do no business deals no time soon. And sometimes that happens. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You love your family, but you got to keep your eye on your family as well as your enemies as well. And again, you got to get God to show you the wisdom and discretion you need to make the right decision on how to treat your family when you're involved in them. So, thank y'all for joining. That was, like I said, a little longer than I wanted it to be, but I wanted to go through that so we can see how important it is. Because again, you got to have wisdom when dealing with everybody. It's not just the stranger. Because we know about the strangers, we're always looking out for the stranger. We're always looking out for the enemies. But you got to watch family as well. You got to watch those as close to you as well. You know what I'm saying? And everybody ain't family just because they blood related. You got to make sure their heart is in their relationship and they're going to have your best interest at heart and not themselves. Because that's the one thing about family. Love them to death and they can be there for you. But if they can use you and take advantage of you, they will, because they know you better than anybody else. So I thank y'all for joining tonight. I hope once again that helped y'all. This is not kind of my usual type of sermon. My stuff is usually a little bit more positive, but like I said, I went through Genesis, and there was just a couple of stories that I kind of skipped over. There's not a major story, but I think it does have a big message in there. And again, as a preacher, when I see something, one that I can give my people to help them, because like I said, once again, that's your biggest thing as a Christian. You got to make sure you got the right people around you, and that does include family. It ain't just, okay, I got to watch my enemies and my friends, but I got to leave my family there because they're my family. No, everybody. You got to watch everybody around you, because if they're not for you, they can be against you. And as we saw from here, you know what I'm saying, he was trying to go out and be successful. He trying to do his own thing, and his very uncle, the person that's supposed to be supporting and helping him out, was the very one holding him back. And that can be happening in our lives as well if we're not aware of it. So make sure you pray to God. Make sure you put all situations in God's hands, no matter how big, how small. Put it all in God's hand and pray that He will give you the wisdom you need to make the right decision about who to spend your time and effort with, and who's truly your family and who's truly not. So, of course, I'll be back with y'all next Monday. Tomorrow is the Lost Sheep Ministry, actually in person. So, of course, I won't be broadcasting tomorrow, but I should be back with y'all next Monday, God willing, and the creeks don't rise. And the lesson I'm doing Monday, I'm over in Exodus. This all I can pull out of Genesis. So now I moved over to Exodus, and I'm going to do a lesson called The Blessing of Having a Righteous Heart. And we're going to see how important it is for your heart to be righteous, the amount of things you can do for the people in the world and your world and in the world in general if your heart is in the right place. And we're going to do that. We're going to be in Exodus next week. And Exodus is a lot in Exodus. I want to go through, of course, the thing with Pharaoh and Moses, but it's so much. I haven't figured out a way to present it without it being like 5-hour long videos. So I'm think I'm gonna circle back to that later on after I get through the Bible. I will cover it eventually, but for right now, I haven't figured out a way to bring it, because it's so many chapters to get to the main point. It's so many other chapters you got to cover, and if I just cover all the chapters, I wouldn't be able to do it all in one video. And the other videos seem like it wouldn't be no point to them. I don't know. I see what the Lord has put on me, but for right now, I do got this one lesson out of there, and it's called The Blessing of Having a Righteous Heart. And that's what I will be doing next Monday at 6 o'clock, God willing, and hopefully I will be able to be on time. So, of course, if there's anything else that anybody want me to talk about, any stories that I haven't covered yet, make sure you let me know, inbox me, and I can work them into the lesson plan. Like I said, right now I'm just going through the book and catching all of the stories that I missed, or maybe small stories, or something I didn't feel as was significant at the time. So so everything is up in the air right now. So if you got something you want me to talk about, or story you want me to cover I haven't yet, please reach out to me, inbox me, and I can get that put in the schedule, so to speak. Continue to share the videos and tell others about it as well. I appreciate y'all tuning in always, even when I'm late as crap. I appreciate it for y'all to be there and continue to support me. I got to do better. And there's probably, I can get listeners, but they don't even know if I'm going to be on in time or not. So I got to do better. But I thank y'all for y'all work, telling people about me, sharing the videos and things of that nature, because I know that's been a big help, and it continue to help this ministry grow, which I'm praying that it will, so the Lord can use this word to help the world. And of course, if there's anybody that's watching this video that's not 100% sure about their salvation, or if they know people that's not 100% sure about their salvation, please, please, please reach out to me. As much as I love teaching you guys, my main thing is to seek and save those which is lost, which is what our Christ and Lord Jesus did. And that's my main mission, is to help lost people come to know the Lord Jesus Christ, their Savior. So if you're not sure about that and you want to know, please inbox me or call me or text me if you got my number. But find some way to reach out to me so we can talk about that, and I can tell you what you need to know to make sure that when you pass away from this earth that you're going to get to go to heaven. And last but not least, this is my YouTube channel. If you want to catch my, go back and watch a sermon or something, everything is on my YouTube channel right now. I actually got all my videos uploaded, except for this one tonight, of course, because I'm just finishing it up. But this is the YouTube channel. Go on YouTube, put that in the search bar, type it in just like that. It'll take you right to my page. You'll see my ugly picture, and you can catch all of my old sermons or refresh them, or if you want to rewatch one, they are all on there, and they're easier to find and scroll through my Facebook page, because people love to tag me and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff on there. So other than that, man, I thank y'all for everything. Thank y'all for being here with me tonight. That's really a blessing. And I'm going to go ahead and pray, and I pray that y'all have a good rest of your night. I'm going to pray, and I'm going to get out of here. Dear Lord, our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us tonight. Once again, thank you for this wonderful lesson. Thank you for giving me the words to say, the wisdom, the kind of pull these chapters apart and just show people. Again, I don't want to bash family. I want to make it seem like family is bad, but I do want people to see that there's a potential there for the family to pull you away. There's a potential there for a family to hold you back. There's a potential there for family to be the ones to mess you over, because we trust our family so much, and we We feel that because we are blood related or we got the same genetics that everything's okay, and it's not always okay. We have to use wisdom and discernment, the same wisdom and discernment that we deal with strangers, to deal with our family as well. And that's the point of this lesson. And the point of this lesson is not this family's evil and they're bad and you know what I'm saying, watch out for them or get away from them. The point of this lesson was to always keep your guard up. Always treat family that's the way you use the same wisdom and discernment when dealing with family as you will with everybody else. So that way you can keep yourself protected and, more importantly, keep yourself in the will of God. So I just thank you for this lesson tonight. Thank you for my faithful ones here that was here for me tonight, that encouraged me to keep going, Lord. I thank you for your word. Give me your word to us. Put your word upon my heart. And I just thank you so much for this ministry you blessed me with, called me into, Lord. And I thank you for using this avenue, this channel, this live, this Facebook, this social media to get your word out. And I just thank you for blessing me and the growth that we've experienced since we started doing this video. It's been so wonderful, Lord. And I just thank you for using me the way you have. So I just ask you to watch over us as we finish up this night. Keep us all safe. Help us get into some rest and get ready for another day of honor and glorifying your holy name, Lord. I pray you continue to watch over this ministry, continue to help it grow and prosper. Be with us tomorrow as we meet in person, so we can have a good. We're going to finish up the book of John tomorrow, Lord, and get ready to start a new chapter, learning about the things that you want us to do. So I just pray you be with us, keep us safe, and let us have a good meeting and a good turnout tomorrow as well. I ask you to be with all my friends and family. Keep your hand upon them. All those that are part of the ministry, continue to give me the wisdom I need, the encouragement I need to continue to go forth. And continue to encourage them and influence them to have a close relationship with you, Lord. Ask you to be with all those that are lost. Pray you will touch their heart. Give them the want to come to know you before it's too late. And just keep your hand upon them and bring them under conviction so they can make that decision before it's too late. And we just pray you be with all those that we've led to you through this ministry, Lord. Continue to help them grow in their relationship with you. Continue to let your spirit rest upon their heart and give them the want to go forth to serve your purpose and your will as well. Protect your nation of Israel. Keep them safe and turn their hearts back to you. Continue to be with them so they may receive the inheritance you promised them, Lord, and the world may be blessed through them. Be with this country, Lord, as we're going through so much. We got this election coming up. We got COVID going on, Lord, and we just got so much these protests and these riots, and there's so much going on. And if someone doesn't have faith, it can be a scary situation, scary time right now. But I'm not, Lord, because I know you're in control. And like my pastor always say, I read the book and I know the end of the book and I know we're going to win. So I just put it all in your hands and I pray that you just give us the wisdom to see how far away from you we've gotten and give us the want to get back to you before it's too late. Be with our president and all of our politicians, all those that you put in authority over us. Turn their hearts back to you so they may lead the people back in the right way, right direction, and continue to make the laws so we may continue to have our freedom to worship you. And be with all our brothers and sisters that's been persecuted in California right now because of our government, Lord, because of the rules and regulations they've made, being charged $50,000 just to have a church service and to do what they're supposed to be doing to honor and glorify you. Be with them, give them the courage to continue to make it through, and to continue to keep your hand upon them, Lord. Be with me and my family so we can continue to grow and prosper in your work, capture the lost souls of men. Be with River Lake Baptist Church and all the faithful saints that work out of that church, Lord, and continue to give them the courage they need to continue to do your work. Be with Middle Tennessee Baptist Church, continue to encourage them as well, and give them the encouragement they need to continue to do your work, and just continue to shine your love and grace down upon us all. Be with all those that's been sexually abused and molested in this country, Lord, and in this world. It's such a prevalent thing that goes on, and I just pray you would take this evil out of the hearts of men and women that do these things. And I pray you would comfort them with what they're going through, the abuse, and I pray you would just get them a way out of this situation and give them the wisdom to accept their way when it presents itself. But more importantly, I just pray you get rid of this evil so we can cleanse the world of this evil thing that happens so much. And I also ask you to be with all those that are in the military, keep them safe and protected, get them the wisdom to make the right decisions when they're in a situation, especially a situation, a life or death situation. Give them the wisdom to make the right decisions and not abuse the power if they have the power to decide if someone lives or dies, and if they don't have to, Lord, just continue to keep them safe, get them where they need to be, and give them the wisdom to make the right decisions so they may make it home safely, and help them see that no matter how far away from home they are, they're never too far away from you. Protect them and their family so they can embrace once again and honor and glorify you because they had the ability to do so. Just watch over us all as we finish up this night. Give us the strength so we can get rest and get up with it for another day to honor and glorify your name. We love you and thank you for all you've done and given. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Alrighty, y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging with me tonight. Again, y'all are such a blessing to me and my faithful ones. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the lesson. I hope it was helpful for you. And y'all didn't just hear me ramble on, but you're actually getting something from it. That's always my goal. And I pray the Spirit touched your heart in some way tonight and gave you some wisdom on how to handle your family if you got anything going on with your family as well. But I love y'all. I pray y'all continue to support me. And if God's willing, I'll see y'all next week at 6 o'clock. But until then, y'all have a great night. And remember to continue to be safe. Always watch your back and pray. Peace.